out there's 40,000 finches, different species of finch who can't interbreed with one another. So I think A, we do have that, or B, you're going to have to make that number so unknowable that we either do and don't have it at the same time. But B, you need to have enough of a species to maintain a healthy gene pool, right? You can't just have each person belongs to their own species, otherwise all of the species wink out of existence. So that to me isn't a very good test of it. And this is where the challenge I wanted to lay before is, when I'm saying they're not doing science, I don't mean they're not doing studies and making things look sciencey. But if you've created an institution to prove yourself right, then you cannot really be doing science, because you will not accept anything that proves you wrong. If you're the Creation
You know, I
Institute
had
and you discover non-creation, you're not never going to produce that. So it's not
that
really
was
science.
actually something that one of my teachers that was talking about, because she went to John Hopkins and she was in a lab that researched evolution. And she said evolutionists are unique from all other researchers in that other research is constantly progressing and adding new things as we discover them. But evolution, she said that they're very stuck in their ways. They're never going to, like, change things as more information comes along. And, it's just like, it's just is the way it is. And that was what
So
she
that's
told
not,
me.
again, that's not responding to my point. My point is, if you are saying that they should be
I
taken
didn't
with,
ever make a point. I just gave a
I
quote from
did,
Darwin.
I did, and I'm asking you to respond to it. I'm saying, if
Okay.
you want us to accept the
Some of them are kind of like agnostic, where
Right,
they just
same.
believe in
So
a
apart
creator.
from
They just
being
believe in an intelligent
apart,
designer, but they don't
uh,
believe in like
yeah,
a personal
creation
God or
ministry.
Right, it's not. Do you know of any findings that they've had that support evolution and debunk creationism? Do they teach both sides?
Honestly, I haven't went into their publication sites. Um, I've been meaning to, but I haven't. So I'm sorry, I wouldn't be able to get too many details.
What's it called? What are they called?
The Institute for Creation Research. Let me try to find out what their journal is. I can't believe you never heard of them.
Oh, there's a million like them. You know, it's just
Yeah,
standard
the,
think tank shit.
yeah,
I
it's
don't
the
think
The
so. I
who
don't think there's
wingers
really
do
much
it. The
I don't
right
think it's a
wingers
think
do
tank.
it.
It's legitimate institutions with legitimate labs, like huge labs. Like I don't know where they get all the funding for, but they're putting out a lot of papers. This is the problem. Like you never hear about any of them because
Probably because they're
we're
junk,
just on
right?
one side. Huh?
Because they're wrong.
Probably because they're junk. Like same as think tanks, right?
Okay, so
Everybody
you're
puts
gonna do
out
like a
papers
genetic
and
fallacy. They're junk. You don't even know anything about them, and you're just gonna say they're junk.
I said probably because they're junk, right? Like if you've already
Yeah,
decided,
what's wrong with
if
you? Why
you've
would
already
you do that?
decided on the answer, every
Okay,
couple of months
whatever.
popping out another paper that proves that I was
Maybe you
right
should
about the
look.
thing.
Apologize, press.
Sure, they might have toilets too. I imagine they've got car parks. That doesn't answer whether they've
The
got.
fact that this triggers you so much is really like interesting.
What's
The
interesting
fact
is
that
Like,
like
the
creationists have
creation
like
ministry.
doing research and real research labs and have publications and like it's some
it's
serious
not
stuff.
real research though.
The
If
fact
they
that you're
don't
concerned
have,
about it is kind of
but,
intriguing to me.
but you're rejecting the substance of what would make them scientific. The two things that to me are crucial, that I'm suggesting are crucial to it being science, are one, that you do not pre-assume your conclusion, And two, the one I'm introducing now is that you have people relevant to the field doing the work. If those things are true, which you haven't addressed or rejected or managed to debunk yet, then it doesn't make sense to keep returning to this safe territory of, but they're producing science, just deal with the science. It's not science
No, I
anymore at that
mean,
point.
what I did
Nicholas
say was that
Copernicus.
there's people that didn't start out as creationists that will do papers and then they found an interesting result. Whenever I was talking to Dr. Jeff Miller, who works at Apologetics Press, who works closely with a lot of PhDs that work there, he's also a PhD. He was saying that they will basically find interesting results and then send them into the Institute for Creation Research to either replicate or, to publish. But they have like very strict credentials of who they publish and very like some
Well,
of the
sure,
things
I
that
bet
I
they
was
do.
mentioning to them, they thought were crazy. Like they're definitely not flat earthers. They're
So
very like
I'm not saying they're flat
forms by itself in nature,
no,
other
no.
than the cell, which I believe is intelligently designed.
No,
Yeah,
but
that's
show me
God's
the
world.
intelligence. You just
Show me
said
the
everything we've
difference.
seen is an intelligent
Complex
designer.
information
I've seen a
back
cat.
anyway.
I just
Yeah.
saw another cat.
Yeah, that would be
Where did the cat
intelligent
come
design
around
by
from an
God. That
intelligent
would be
designer?
intelligent
We've
design.
never seen
It's
that.
common
That
sense
would
to
be
me
intelligent
that,
design, by the
okay,
way.
we only see complex specific information from intelligence designers. We only see these type of
Where?
motors and machinery from
No.
intelligent designers, and
That's
informational hierarchy. We only see that from intelligent designers.
But they're
Integrated systems.
non-biological.
We see
How
that from
come nature
okay, and
creates
that's what the cell
capability?
has. So it's
If it's
common
so
sense to me,
intelligent, how come
and we
does
can't
nature create?
replicate it by naturalistic means. That's what I
right.
mean. How
What's so intelligent?
cannot do God's
What's so
work in that way.
Taylor? What's intelligent about having a animal that lives in water breathe air?
Or having humans
That's
with
what I'm saying,
diseases?
no.
How is that
What do you
intelligent?
think a whale is? What do you think a dolphin is, you
Come
jackass?
on.
Yeah,
Don't
Dude,
say
I know what
intelligent.
I know what a
Capability.
whale.
We
I
watch
know what
the
a
insults
dolphin
here,
is.
please.
I know what they
Why would you
are.
say something so goddamn retarded right now?
Yeah.
What
Come
is
on.
intelligent? What is intelligent about having an animal that lives in water need to breathe air instead of
super cool.
filtering oxygen
Because
out of
that's
the
the way
water
God
itself?
intended that animal to live. That's why. Who are you
Perfect.
to be saying that is incorrect or not
In the same
intelligent?
way,
in
why
life?
would
That's
it
not
evolve
logical.
like that?
No, the
It's not the
thing
way
is
If
that
it
it,
breathed
you're-
air, why would it
you're-
evolve underwater? I could say
you're-
the same thing to you.
In beings have come about by the same process. Do you understand my challenge to that point? Or did I get your point right? And do you understand my challenge to it?
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and I think a stronger point is the types of information in DNA.
Direct question.
The motors
you
is not the strongest.
understand-
I'm just saying it's coincidental. But go ahead. Yeah, what's
Do
your
you
point?
understand my challenge to that point?
You're saying it's no longer about biology if we bring up engineering.
Yeah. So we can't
I
say we
mean,
know these things come about
okay.
with intelligent design. You have to say we've got
Right.
no idea how they come about because we've never
Can-
seen them come about.
Can I bring up
What?
2 points?
I didn't get that last part.
Can I bring up
We've-
2 points? Like we've like artificially made dog breeds from some kind of like common ancestor dog, whether it was wolf or some other ancient Egyptian hound. So there is definite evidence of humans intelligently or perhaps unintelligently crafting the poodle. Also, to Taylor's point, for science questioning the timeline of humans, many traits were thought to be around 1.8 to 2.4, and scientists at New York University were showing that these multiple traits, like the ability to hold tools or having almost double, because that doesn't come along simultaneously. Different adaptations come along at different points in time.
That's a good point. And Earth is life. He mentioned something about the age of the Earth and the molten core earlier before I had to go real quick. And I wanted to say that there is a paper that Dr. Jeff Miller referenced about how, like, I think he might have wrote it too, about like how the core of the Earth by now like would be more solidified or more like, I guess, cooled down if it was like really billions of years old. And I can
Oh,
try
yeah.
to find that paper and send it to you, Earth is Life, if you want to read it. That's about
I
it.
do like those stories on how they first started trying to calculate the age of the Earth. Like one of them was about the salinity in the oceans, assuming that all of the water
Yeah.
got here from asteroids, and then trying to like assuming all of the salt comes out of the rocks, trying to time it by leaching into the ocean.
And that's the curious thing about this. Some people go more leaning towards uniformitarianism, which gets like stable changes over stable periods of time. But when you think about like unstable changes and different adaptations over time, that actually lengthens the process. Like I said earlier, where these New York professors are leaning towards 4 billion years instead of 2.5. So it's just interesting, like that this researching and researching more and more data with more and more fossils and analysis of geophysics to draw these conclusions from the evidence that remains in the earth. And so it's kind of like they're admitting they're wrong, but not wrong to the extent that it was 10,000 years.
Yeah, that's interesting though about the isn't that how they say all the water got here too? Eggshells is from asteroids just
That's
hitting
the
it
idea,
over.
yeah.
That's crazy, bro.
Most of
Those
that
are
stuff is to
from,
me. There's bits that seem pretty obvious and I think are robust, but when it comes down to like, you know, the further out
Yeah.
stuff, the further back in the past,
And-
the further away
and-
from us,
and
I'm
for
just like,
some
yeah, it's
people-
guesswork.
Let's be fair, for some people who believe in God, they're okay with an older Earth because God can insert Adam and Eve at any point in time, and they don't necessarily have to be genetically related to Homo habilis or Homo erectus or some sort of Neanderthal. They could hypothetically be a unique creation that's similar to what's currently around. So
Well,
So
and,
that-
and the Hindus, my Hindu creationist friends, have a far stronger claim for that because when you find those transitional little like hominid forms, or like whenever they get to the upright apes, and we started being like, oh, they are starting to look a bit human. the Hindus are like, yeah, that's what you expect, though. Hanuman is a monkey god, and he commanded an army of monkeys that were like part human. So, and it fits with their timeline because they deal with these like multi tens of thousand-year long yugas, and so they're kind of flexy on when it occurred. So it could be millions and millions and millions of years ago and involve half monkeys.
How
Well,
does religion handle the different races of people? Like,
well, they have it in there that, you know, after the flood, there was these people came from this sun, these people came from this sun, or whatever else. But, you know, to Anvil's point, if God created Adam and Eve, you know, in the timeline, that means Adam and Eve was able, or their descendants were able to mate with Neanderthal and Devasovan, because Devasovan and Neanderthal DNA is found within the modern human gene code.
Denisovan.
Yeah.
No. You're conflating
Yes, it is.
evolution and creationism. But no,
Oh my
the
God.
different races came about because if you look in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it says the tribes were separated based on their like corresponding is the word, but that's not the correct
It's not
word. But
conflating at
a
all.
son of God,
It's
so the sons of
understanding
God. The
that
Watchers came into the daughters of men and bore, giants, and some of the remnants of this offspring, like some of the
That's the
like
Nephilim.
lineages came about from the different genetic manipulations. These are some theories that Christians have, like that's where the different races came in. But if you take Adam and Eve and like do like epigenetics and turn on and off certain genes, like for example, upregulating melanin for certain races and then downregulating it, they say that you can get all the all the not all humans are the same species, but all the different races from that. And then some people say genetic manipulation from the Watchers is what
right.
created the different races. So there's kind of
So like,
different theories out there
so
from a
in the
Christian
same
perspective.
sense, we've got a lot of
So-
different canines, but we've also got like poodles and Rottweilers. But the differences
Exactly.
between humans isn't as sparse as that yet.
but
Like
you would need the time for that to happen, wouldn't you? Unless there was intervention and it happened instantly
so.
by the Nephilim. So none of us are pure. We're
I
all
wanted to say too,
Nephilim. That would
like
suggest, wouldn't it?
if you look at the skin colors of people, I was trying to line this up like near the equator and close to the poles. Like it doesn't seem consistent that always near the equator they have darker skin and it gets lighter as you go towards the poles. It seems kind of all over the place if that's like kind of how
Well,
that
in
happens.
modern day,
The
yes,
modern day,
because
but
people
even
can
looking back
travel.
into like the native tribes of those areas,
Of what areas? Like you need
near
go
the pole
from
regions and near the equator.
go to the equator of Africa, you find really dark people. Then you go north to Egypt, you find lighter people. Then you go north to Italy, you find lighter people than that. Then you go north to Germany, you find even lighter people than that.
Yeah, but around the
Right.
world, that's not always consistent with the natives
Okay,
that were originally there.
where else? Where else? And like I said, where you would not find that consistency is through human migration. So like where else would you say? Because that's north and south, right? You can't really go
Okay,
south
so on
from
the
Africa
equator,
because Antarctica.
in South America, do we find that same
South
exact
America,
true?
South America. Yeah, That's who the Canadians are today, and they would represent.
So the Inuits,
Those aren't Canadians. Those aren't Canadians. They
they're
are lighter.
they're the. What do you mean they're not Canadians? They're the
They're lighter.
original Canadians.
Okay, well they're lighter.
They're
skinned.
indigenous to Canada.
They're lighter skinned. They are lighter skinned.
No, they're like Hispanic looking.
Yeah, no, you could look up the history. They're not. They were left over. They went there for the God, it wasn't pearls. It was shit. I was just watching a show on the history.
Yeah, I recently read something that said, like, there was a multi-boy. They found some kid that was actually Asian in the Americas from like 24,000 years ago.
It was seal furs. That's what made people go there in the first place. And then it was Russia, wasn't it? So it was like Russians and somebody else. And then a lot of them stayed there when America.
Yeah, America bought it. Yeah.
If you look at the supposed indigenous Canadian phenotype, like, Inuit Eskimos, they look like European and Asian mix.
And when you look at
The multi-boy has supposedly lived 24,000 years ago.
Yeah,
You gotta look it up.
Yeah.
They've suddenly considered moving back. So there's like Clovis is one of the first in North America, the Clovis sites. But they've now think they might have found footprints that they think they can date to 24,000 years ago, which is massive.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if it was 24,000 years. It wouldn't surprise me.
It would surprise me.
Your old paradigms. Y'all gotta stop believing what you were taught in schools, man. There's new information now.
Why would that surprise you, Ed?
Well, because it would, like it's similar to how mind bending it is. Like, not as in I would think it's bullshit, but it's similar to how mind bending it is. How you've got this barely started evidence of humans in Africa, and then it's like tool use of humans. I mean, and then bang, they're down in Australia. Miles away. Like many of the oldest evidence of humans comes from Australia, and that surprises me, right? And that's 40,000 years ago. So to have them make it all the way down here, I guess once I accept that, then we must be accepting there must have been some absolutely nutbags back then who are traveling insane distances.
What they were doing, because most of them were hunter gatherers, they were following pack animals basically. And then you have to also take into account the ice age. The water levels were way lower. It was easier to travel, from point A to point B across the map. But being it moved back 10,000 years, that's really not that shocking. If it moved it back like to 60,000 years or 70,000, that would be a bit shocking, because that would not have those people from the understanding of the timeline even being able to get there at that point. You know what I mean? Like the people that you're finding didn't exist on the other continent, for them to have gotten there 60,000 years prior or that. But a 10,000 year differentiation, that's not, I don't think that's that crazy. Especially when you talk about the scale of of how long, this process took.
When did the Inuits go to Canada? Do you think?
Alaska, when did they go to Alaska? Or did you talk about when they got to Alaska, then went into the mainland of Canada?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
I would say anywhere between 10 to 25,000 years ago.
This says the ancestors known as the Thule people migrated eastward from Alaska at 13th century CE. That's from Alaska. Okay, so now I need to ask, when did they get to Alaska?
Yes, remember that part of the question. And the major question would be, when did humans cross the land bridge at the Bering Strait? That would get you the answer you're actually seeking.
Were they having
Yeah, I'll look it up.
languages
I'm
at
looking
that
it up
time?
now.
It says they established themselves in Alaska by around 900 to 1000 AD.
Okay.
So only in 1000 AD did they make it to Alaska?
Were you asked the question, when did humans cross the Bering Strait for the first time? And I think that would answer the question in which the topic we're talking about.
I'm just gonna say, so who was
I'm
living in
looking it up
Alaska
now.
before that?
So if you answer, here, I'll do it.
I think the interesting thing about the migrational periods, it's not like a population of like 1 million people decided to cross from Russia to Alaska on that exact year. It's like families over time of like 1,000 years. So okay, we don't have the Johnsons
So
near us now. Let's
yeah,
cross
so it
them
says
and
here that the land bridge
Oh.
disappeared, submerged around 11,000 years ago. Talks about humans crossing after the land bridge disappeared using boats. It mentioned the Clovis culture around 14,000 years ago. There's theories that they took boats over that as well. There's theories of the Clovis culture noted at 11,500 to 10,500. There's a Princeton study that revises the emergence of the land bridge to only 35,000 years ago. According to the DNA studies, the migration patterns are 15,000 years ago by the Paleo Eskimos. Genetic evidence shows these groups contributed to modern populations such as the Inuit and Na Dane speakers. Yeah, I mean there isn't a like a definite age, but it looks like the Bering's land bridge emerged 35,000 years ago, and the initial migration patterns via the land bridge was between 20,000 and 15,000 years ago, according to that. But then some genetic studies shows that it could be a little bit older than that, around 25 to 30,000 years ago. Humans likely first crossed after 20,000 years ago.
How did that land bridge even emerge? Just a side note.
The Earth's the sea level was meant to be like 100 foot lower. So there's a land between England and France. They now call Doggerland, but you can apparently go scuba diving there. Yeah, we're connected to Indonesia by this series of islands called the Torres Strait Islands, and we have this very similar cultures that get isolated there. And they even have Dreamtime stories about the water advancing, which some people think might be a story that's been passed down for 20-something thousand years, which is mind-blowing and I'm skeptical about.
It's kind of like the opposite of global warming leading to rising sea levels when it's warmer. When it's colder, all the ice is concentrated more towards the poles. So that allows bridging to happen either via the frozen ice or because the water levels are lower, because it's only available as ice. Once it melts, that sea level rises to cover that land bridge.
That's what I'm not sure on. I don't think that melting ice raises sea levels. I think that's a common misconception, but it only raises it an infinitesimally small amount, and thermal expansion covers most of the warm water. The warm air in water takes up more space, covers most of the sea level, and things ice
Well-
that's on land running into the sea increases sea levels, but floating ice, I don't think it does. But I might be wrong on that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what would cause lowering or high, the difference between low enough sea level for land/frost bridges to cross by foot versus some sort of melting that now makes that ice that's covering that land bridge now liquid. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, it could just be. It wasn't maybe technically a land bridge. It was just the lands between Alaska and Russia were frozen over, and they could cross it. I'm not sure if there was a land bridge, but it's hard to say because, I don't know if they literally mean the sea level was so much lower that it was literally dry land.
Yo, we lost the plot.
Says here, during the last glacial period, enough of the Earth's water became frozen in the great ice sheets covering North America and Europe to cause a drop in sea level. For thousands of years, the seafloors of many interglacial shallow seas were exposed during those of the Bering Strait. All the land bridges around the world have emerged and disappeared in the same way. Yeah, that's what it says. I mean, this has been a very known theory for quite a while, and the mitochondrial genetic patterns has pretty much confirmed it. It's very accurate because mitochondrial DNA has it has a different type of setup compared to human DNA. Because mitochondria do not have human DNA, they have bacterial DNA. And it changes with a special ratio of time. And it's only inherited by the maternal. So using those calculations, immigration patterns have been made for different phenotypes. And extrapolating how long it's been with different genetic testing of different populace today, we can backtrace to where they all originally came from and how the migration patterns emerged. This was discovered quite a long time ago. Must have been during the 1990s, after the Human Genome Project, once DNA sequencing became much cheaper and much easier to do.
Yes, the Human Genome Project, and I remember hearing something about the prevalence then of 23andMe and these personal genetic testing services has overturned a few things, hasn't it? About sort of side theories about where groups came from or something, hasn't there? Am I making that up?
I don't know when it comes to 23andMe, because 23andMe does, I think they do a different type of DNA testing that isn't mitochondrial. The thing about the mitochondrial DNA is that it's a little bit wacky, because like I said, the mitochondria is kind of like its own organelle, and it has kind of like semi-autonomy. It can control itself. It's really, really fascinating, and it's really, really weird. And it's further strengthens the it's called the endobiologic theory, where this mitochondrion was its own bacteria that fused with the common cell to create the common eukaryotal cell that we have today. Because the mitochondria has many bacterial.
Me, don't interrupt me.
Yeah, apologies.
And
Go
you,
ahead.
because you have a lot of hot miking going on. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, sorry, I'm outside.
All right, listen, dude. Try to not interrupt. So if you have everybody
ahead.
that's like, they're spread out, and then, you say, like, if you just rewind time, you will find that they all started in one point. There was like a cradle of civilization, right? Well, if you could have a biogenesis, then you could have multiple. You could have multiple lineages. And not all life have to stem from one common ancestor. You understand, right?
Sure. But doesn't that presume that because you could have multiple abiogenesis events, you do have multiple abiogenesis events?
When you say common ancestor, do you mean common human ancestor or do you mean common cellular ancestor?
I'm saying if you have the conditions for abiogenesis, then you could have multiple biogenesis, and I don't have to be related to anybody in this room.
No, like abiogenesis didn't happen just to one cell. It happened to many, many cells. But
Yeah, you
a
think there
lot
was
of them
only one
died out.
abiogenesis. Like once you had the conditions for it, only one biogenesis happened. I think that's faulty.
But
No,
that's not necessary.
I didn't say that. Yeah, no, I didn't say that. I think maybe it was a bit unclear. This just didn't happen to one cell. A biogenesis happened to a buttload of cells, millions of different species. The difference is that most of them have died out. The vast majority of species and organisms during Earth lifetime have died out, and only the ones that managed to survive are the ones that are living today. The modern eukaryote cell
I think there's
is the one that has survived.
You're talking past one another. I think that the point you're making, Electric, is if abiogenesis occurred, then there would have been multiple events. Like it could still be happening today. And then we wouldn't need a single common ancestor because you would trace one clutch of animals back to one abiogenesis event and then another clutch of animals back to a different biogenesis event, and they wouldn't all converge towards one. Is that what you're saying, Electric?
You get it.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I don't understand. Are you suggesting that there are multiple abiogenesis and many different types of cell type just in the eukaryote one?
I
It's
think he's
possible you could have
asking you
multiple
did all
lineage.
Go
Sorry, go ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say, I think he was asking if all animals and all living things came originally from one cell.
Yes.
I think the biggest problem with the thesis is once you have life on the planet, that life is going to start consuming those precursors of life for fuel. And you're really not going to get the ability for multiple abiogenesis. You're going to get that life, and then that life is going to start the evolutionary process that we see today.
Every organism today, except for bacteria and some archaea, all of them have the same cellular structure. All of them have the same organelles. All of them have cellular respiration. Even plants have cellular respiration. They all have the same mitochondria. So yes, there's a strong evidence that they all originated from the same cell.
Oh, we're going through the month where the dome breaks apart every month. Coming into the Perseid meteor
I'm sorry,
shower.
what?
Just a slight distraction.
Oh,
We're
okay.
Coming into the time of the Perseid
Okay.
meteor shower, and I was like, oh, this is when the dome breaks apart and bits fall to Earth.
Yeah, the firmament breaks.
Yeah, I mean, you think you've traced every single, species on Earth back to one common ancestor, but you actually haven't. Not even close.
You know Sean G, right,
And-
Jesse, or Electric?
Yeah.
You would have a wonderful conversation with him about this, I think.
What's his position?
You guys would have a wonderful conversation. Tell him you want to talk about abiogenesis and Rini sent you, and he'd start laughing immediately.
All right, then.
So you believe that scientists are overconfident when it comes to the symbiotic theory and abiogenesis?
Well, your theory actually requires for one of the cells to eat the rest of them. That's what Renee just said, right?
Well, that's what ends up happening after you get life. The life is going to form, and then that life that formed is going to start consuming those precursors of life
Yeah,
as well.
it's going to outcompete them. It's going to outcompete them.
Yeah, it could be that,
So
two cells moved away from each other and didn't actually eat each other. It's possible too.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm very tired right now, but
I think.
in the future,
Sorry,
if
go
anybody
ahead.
You
wants
have to
to
forget
debate
what's within the realm of
abiogenesis,
possibility.
just let me know.
Say
That's all I
again,
was gonna
Taylor.
say. I said, I'm not able to right now, but in the future, if anybody ever wants to debate abiogenesis, I'd love to. Like, it's pro abiogenesis. I'd love to debate them just at a future time. I've been looking
Sure.
for people ever since I
That'd be
debated
fun.
Grayson. Sorry.
I think there's a misconception when we say that all life originated from one cell, because again, the main theory is that evolution
If that's
didn't
not what you
start
mean,
from a
then why do
single
you say it? You know?
No, allow me to explain. There are multiple cells that did abiogenesis, in a wide variety of different ways. But there's only one of them that actually survived. And again,
Yeah,
this
I don't know
points
how
back
you
to
know
the fact that
Eukaryotes.
because that's how evolution works. Because the majority of species that have lived on this planet, the vast majority of them, 99.7% or something, have died because they've been outcompeted by species that have better suited to an environment. I mean, if you look at the history of humans, there are a lot of like side species of humans that lived, but they all died out. And the only one that survived were us.
What are you talking about? There's all
That
different
doesn't
kinds of
mean that
on Earth.
humans, that doesn't mean that there were only us, the only one species of humans back in time. No, there were multiple of them, but all of them died out except for Homo sapiens. This thing happens in evolution all the time.
Why can't
pretty
we
much the
reproduce it all? Like, if abiogenesis is something that commonly happens, like, why can't we ever see it happen from non-life to life?
It
They've
has been
created
reproduced.
protocells. They've created
Yeah.
protocells. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they have never created
Out
life
of
from
organic
non-life
compounds.
ever.
Yeah, you need life to make life.
Okay. But they've created
They only ever
protocells.
see life come from other living things.
Hang on, but other living things that are made of physical matter, right?
Oh my god. My point stands.
My point stands. If what you're saying is we've only ever seen life come from other life, and all of that life that it comes from is physical and has a precursor to it, it doesn't make any more sense to say, well, it's ridiculous that it came from rocks. It therefore came from a disembodied mind that has no physical substance, right? That at least rocks start off
So-
physical.
If abiogenesis happens commonly where non-living matter becomes life, and it happened a bunch, then it'd be nice to actually watch it happen in a lab or have new, life forms forming. That's
a
not what we
doesn't
see.
respond to my point, but it's true.
I made
Well,
my
the
point
problem-
first, then you made an irrelevant point.
But
Which
the
is
problem
kind of
is, Taylor,
unrelated.
though, the conditions in which life formed on the planet do not exist anymore, and in the same scales in which they were present.
They're actually much harsher back then. So it
Yeah,
seems easier
yeah.
now with all this organic matter floating around.
Not really at all, because you're looking to make
Actually, yeah.
chemistry essentially. No, because you're looking to make chemistry. And
Oh,
chemistry is
life was
about
completely
volatility.
hostile back in the day.
Well, in chemistry, in chemistry, it's about
That's
volatility.
organic
So the
matter.
more
We got plenty of
volatile that you have
organic
this place, the more chance that you'll have something like this. So, like you have to
How
understand the
vigorously do you have
conditions.
to shake your box of rocks to make life? I'm just wondering.
They cannot make life in a lab from non-living matter.
They've
Yeah,
made
like
a
how hard you got to
protocell,
shake the box, dude.
but they've made a protocell. And Jesse, you always
When you
whine
say
about straw
protocol,
manning.
what do you mean?
What do I
It's
mean
not a
when I
straw
say?
man. You guys
What-
say that you
what
Yes, it
can
type
see
is.
of
life
That
form
is
from
protocol?
rocks.
shaking
What
a
is the
box,
nature
shaking a
of
box, and
protocol?
getting life is a straw man of abiogenesis. You don't think that's a straw man of abiogenesis?
Yeah,
What
you
is
say
the
that
pro-
water was hitting clay and forming nucleotides, but you've never seen that happen in a laboratory. You need organic
That's not true.
compounds to make life.
That's not true, Jesse. That's not true. People have seen that
What is
happen
the
in the lab. That's not
protocell?
true. A
Okay,
protocell.
no.
What is a protocell? Is the
What is
question?
the protocell that they made? You said they made protocells. What is that? Can you
Oh God. You want a paper?
I want you to tell me what this protocell was.
Do you want a paper?
If you cannot
Tell us
explain
what
it,
you think the paper said. You read a paper. What did it say?
What did it said that with conditions, I forget, there was something very simple, like something very, very simple, and they were able to make a protocell.
I think he's just
It would be
talking about
a lipid
from organic
membrane.
matter they had encapsulated in a membrane.
Yes,
But
yes.
I do not think
Protocell. That's you
no.
just described a
Okay, and that's
protocell.
not
That's
even close
insane.
to life.
That
by
is
the
so
way.
crazy that you described a protocell. That's insane. That's a protocell.
That's
So you knew what it
nothing
was the
close.
entire
Like
time.
that is like
You knew what it
so
was the
far
entire
away
time.
from anything
That's
living. I don't
insane.
think you realize. So my point
That's so
stands.
crazy.
We've never. It is actually not that impressive if you actually read the paper. But my point
So you
stands that
read the
we've
paper,
never
so you know
actually
exactly what I'm
created
talking
life.
about.
Dude, you're gonna sit here and talk over me. Like that's pathetic. We have not created life from non-life in the lab. We can encapsulate organic matter with a lipid membrane all day long. That's just
Mhm.
a joke
And
compared to
that's
what you need for
abiogenesis. That is a
reproduction.
precursor of a cell, correct? Is that a precursor of a cell? Yes or
No,
no?
that's literally
That's not a
freaking garbage.
precursor of a cell. An
That is
encapsulated
no,
membrane
that
is
thing
not
will
a
never go
precursor of a cell.
You have to have
Okay.
reproduction. You have to have metabolism.
No,
You
no,
have
no,
to
no,
have
no. That's a modern. That's a modern cell. That's a
It's
modern
nothing.
cell. That's a
They
modern
have
cell that
not
you're talking
created
about.
anything close to
This is a
life.
protocell. This is a
Yeah, and
protocell,
it's
which is
not
a
even close
precursor
to
of a
life.
cell, of a precursor of a cell. That's exactly
They
what
have
it is.
not gotten anywhere close to creating life in a lab.
Okay.
If you didn't know that.
But
All right,
I
I'm going to
didn't
read
say
this.
that. I said
Protocells,
that they
I'm
made
going to
a
read this. I'm
protocell.
going to read this. Yeah, you're talking about protocells, but not saying what it is. Protocells have been synthesized by creating compartments, often using fatty acid vesicles. Boom, you're done. Go home.
Yeah,
All
that's what I
right. I
told
don't
you
know
last
what
time.
that even. I said exactly what a protocell is. That's a protocell. That's a precursor to a
Yeah,
cell.
they require
Yeah, that's
organic
pathetic.
compounds in order to make a protocell. So you need life to make the life. You're
So
cooked.
so lipid membrane.
Yeah, but
You know what a
organic
lipid is?
compounds are just amino acids.
Yes.
Organic
Yeah,
compounds
you
are just
require
amino
already
acids
you
or
require
triglycerides.
already organic matter. Yes, it
Amino
requires
acids is
organic
one
matter.
type of
Yes.
organic compound. You need to have nucleic acids that make DNA. You gotta have carbohydrates that make sugar. You gotta
That's a
have amino
modern
acids that
cell.
make proteins. And
That's a
there's one
modern
I'm
cell.
That's
missing.
protocell.
That's a modern
And you
cell
have
she's talking
nucleic
about.
acids. You need to have carbohydrates. You need to have
Okay,
lipids.
okay.
Yes, that make up the number.
Can
And the
we
lipids,
all just
these encapsulated cells that you just mentioned, need to have channel proteins within them that are functional, so you can have
That's
things
a
move
modern cell.
inside
Thank you
and
for
outside.
describing a
Quit
modern cell.
interrupting
We're
me.
talking about protocells.
Hey,
Stop talking about
dude,
modern
get a
cells.
hold of
Then.
yourself. I'm
Stop talking about modern cells. Stop talking
moderators.
about modern cells.
I mean,
You
Taylor,
think
him
you cannot
interjecting
listen?
is
Dude,
fair.
seriously, I'm going to. Next time someone interrupts me, I'm leaving, dude. This is ridiculous.
Bye, Taylor. Bye.
I have one
Interruption.
sentence to
Interruption.
say.
Interruption. Interruption. Interruption.
Okay, is there any
Interruption.
moderators here? I will leave,
No.
but I want to finish my
Interruption.
sentence.
Interruption.
This dude's
What
acting
are
like
you
a
saying?
kid.
What the
Taylor,
fuck,
Taylor,
man?
his interjection is on point.
Dude, he's acting like a kid. Get a hold of yourself. Where are your parents? Okay, so even if you did have something encapsulated with a lipid, you need to have transport membrane proteins to move things inside and outside the cell, or it would
You're
just
still
squinch
talking about
out.
modern cells, Taylor.
Dude, seriously, like this guy won't even let me finish the sentence.
Because you're talking about modern cells and we're talking about protocells. So
I'm
we
talking
can't
about
have
the
a
most
conversation
primitive
unless you
cell,
talk about
bro. So there's no moderators here, none.
none.
No
I
need
have
to
None at
moderate
all.
here.
I'm
and I
here.
don't
I'm
do
here.
that.
What's going on? What's going on?
Taylor
I've
won't
been
stop
trying to
talking
say
about
one. This
modern
dude's been
cells.
interrupting people all
Okay,
night.
okay, hold on. Okay, so
Can I say my sentence?
No.
yeah, say
Let's,
no, say
This
your
guy's
sentence.
a child.
Say
okay.
your sentence.
That's her sentence. I'm a child. She won't stop talking about modern cells. We were talking
I
about
am
proto
literally
cells.
talking about the beginning of life.
All right.
Whenever, even if you had a
Yeah.
primitive cell that was encapsulated with a lipid, in the most primitive cell, you would have to have some type of protein or something that can regulate what transports in and out of it, or just quench out and die. Nothing will be able to leave it. Nothing will be able to come into it. You have to have regulated proteins or some sort of functional mechanism to regulate that.
All right. So wait a minute. Okay, hold on. So for clarity, is this about what they've created in a lab?
Yes.
Okay, so what they created in a lab was what, Taylor? Real quick, sum it up. What did they create?
I
He's
made
the
the
one
claim.
that asked him.
I made the claim. I made the claim. The claim I made is that they made a protocell. That was the claim I
Okay,
made.
so they
And we were
made a
talking about
protocell.
protocells. Yeah.
Okay, so they created a protocell in a lab. Do you disagree with that, Taylor?
I'll agree with that, but it's nowhere near life.
Well,
You
so
can call something a protocell. That doesn't mean it's anywhere close to life.
well,
It's already a super cooked argument. Let me respond. To mimic the chemical reactions that occur in living cells, scientists have to incorporate catalysts like enzymes or peptides, which are organic compounds, inside the protocells. In order
We're
to
still
have your
talking about
protocell,
modern
you require
cells,
organic
Jesse.
compounds in every instance. You
No,
don't have one that doesn't
we're
require
talking. We're talking. That's about modern cells. That's about taking
This
a
is about
protocell.
proto.
No, it's
No, I
not
am
about
reading
modern
about
cells.
protocells. Stop
And it's
lying.
about taking a protocell.
You
and
do
giving
not
them
know.
modern.
I'm going to send you this, and this is about
Okay.
protocells. You need to stop saying
Okay.
that this is about modern cells.
Okay.
Like right now, you have to stop strawman.
It's about. You're
Okay?
talking
I
about
need you to
modern
read
cells.
this. I need you to read this.
We're still talking about modern cells.
No, I'm not.
No, we're
Dude,
not.
stop saying stupid shit. I'm not talking
All
about
right.
modern
Not
cells.
even
I'm
the
talking about
primitive
proto
life,
cells.
bro.
okay. So
All right.
so just hang on a second. Now I'm moderating. There was a call for a moderator. I'm going to moderate. Okay. So I asked Taylor if what they created was a protocell, and as I understand it, she said yes. So, what is the difference between a protocell and life?
Oh my gosh.
Protocell
Yeah,
is
well,
synthetic,
in all
dude.
the characteristics of life, it doesn't have. Maybe just the fact that it's encapsulated. That would be the only thing. It doesn't have reproduction. Doesn't have responding to stimuli, the environment, adaptation, metabolism, none of that.
Okay, so it's not what we would consider to be life. It is my understanding of a protocell is that it's the midpoint, roughly speaking, between self-organizing chemical reactions, which we certainly can create,
like the lipid membrane.
Encapsulating a lipid membrane.
No, like the lipid
So
membrane encapsulating whatever they had.
Encapsulating the lipid membrane in what? What is inside the lipid membrane, Taylor?
That just
What's
depends on
inside
the
of it?
experiment. That's why I need them to give us paper. Because they've done this a couple different times. They just take lipids and then they try to encapsulate whatever they got there. You know, there's been different experiments. I don't know what he's referencing.
So my understanding is that if you can create a protocell, then you have gotten a step closer to what we would consider to be life than self-organizing chemical reactions. Is that an accurate understanding?
I think self-organizing chemical reactions are closer to life than just encapsulating XYZ because sometimes the encapsulation can actually kill it. So it just depends.
I'm not talking about something where you kill something. It's that on
I know, but the self-organizing chemical reactions would probably be closer to life than encapsulating something in a lipid membrane because without the appropriate mechanisms to move things inside and out, it will actually kill whatever's starting to form.
Okay, that's not my understanding. So I guess that's where we diverge. I think that anything that you would properly call a protocell is in fact closer towards a modern cell than just a self-organizing chemical reaction. So I guess we would need to figure out whether or not that's correct. Renee, did you want to add something to that?
No, no, but basically, why there was a completely crying and whining for a moderator was the other individual was constantly asking for things that matron cells do. And when that person was made aware that that's what the request was, they kept on asking what modern cells do over and over again.
No,
I understand you're trying to be. You're interrupting me. I'm gonna leave. See, like that's bullshit.
No, he wouldn't even let me finish a sentence,
exactly.
dude. He's been
No, I
all
did.
night.
I let you finish like 20 sentences.
Guys,
20
guys.
sentences.
Taylor,
Okay,
he was
so-
3/4 through his sentence. Let him finish.
Chill. It was happening on both
No,
sides.
no, she
it's
was
fine.
being interrupted. She was being
Yeah.
interrupted. She had the
Yeah.
right to speak, and she was being interrupted. And I was about to say something, but then Omnivore came in. So there you go.
All right. So I guess we just have to figure out whether or not we think a protocell is closer to life than a self-organizing chemical reaction. But if you think self-organizing chemical reactions are closer to life, those, to my understanding, we can generate pretty easily. So wouldn't that make the case that we're close to life?
I don't think they've gotten anywhere close to life. Any sort of replication or genetic material that can be sustained, transmitted.
Here's the funny thing. I don't think they'll get any closer. Like, in this debate, I think it'll be a fascinating thing for humans to discover, et cetera, and could advance the forefront of human understanding and possibly lead to cool new medical things. But I don't think it'll move the creationism debate 1 nanometer because the whole debate's about do we see life forming out of nowhere? And once we've done it in a lab, the creationists are just going to get up and switch the goalposts and go, see, I told you it took intelligence to create life. So it's still going to.
I would be impressed if they even did it in a lab. I'd be impressed if they didn't even take primitive conditions, like remove like the primitive Earth, because they have like experiments trying to replicate prebiotic Earth and their conditions. And oh man, I would be impressed though, even if they took the best conditions and took all non-living matter, not stuff from living cells, and
outside of the model, protocells spontaneously cross the membrane and take part in efficient template copying of the protocell interior. I will post a study right here. So Taylor is wrong when it comes
Where does
to
your catalyst
the
come
notion
from?
that a protocell is incapable of doing any cross membrane cell or any type of channel proteins to cross compounds in and out of the cell. That has been proven in experiment, both theoretical and practical. So that puts
So dishonest.
one
But let me just mention,
notch.
I didn't say like anything. I knew about that in particular, but I wanted to mention that, if they can move, like if you do have
Yeah.
these like more leaky membranes that they're forming, then you're gonna have stuff leaking in and out, and that can also be a problem. So it's important to have
Right.
these transfer membrane proteins to regulate what's inside, what's outside, because if they leak in, then they're just gonna leak out, and then also the cell becomes more unstable. Especially since you don't have these what are they called, like cholesterols there around them to stabilize the membrane, even though things are moving in and out. It's very regulated. So if you just have like a leaky membrane, it's more prone to like degradation too. So there's other
Yes, and I
Right.
agree with that, Taylor. There's a lot of protocells, not just one. There's a lot of protocells that were made during the early ages of life, and a lot of them die out, but enough of them survive in order to become the modern cell that it is today. See that you're watching it from a perspective of a single cell. That's not how evolution works. There were tons and tons and millions of cells that went through the same process, but in different variations of it. And most of them, yes, you're correct. A lot of them did die out because they were not able to create that stability that is required enough to create.
Only one didn't die
membrane for
out.
these
That's
things
so
to survive.
dumb.
But
Fuck.
some of them did. Some of them did and were the
You're saying
precursor
millions
of
of
the modern
cells
cell
were
is
born
today.
in your primordial soup, but only one survived. Shut up.
It's not just one. That's a bit of a straw
No,
man.
not just one.
In addition, you
That is the
could
claim.
argue.
Oh my god, you guys forget what you say.
I said enough of them survived, and eventually they outcompeted each other.
All right, so
Allegedly.
you and Renee need to duke that one out because y'all disagree.
That's the hypothesis.
And you actually did say that earlier, Dr. Pepper.
I
What we
said
said
enough
is
of
that
them survived.
once life started forming, the life that formed started eating the precursors to life. That's
Yep.
what was a statement that was made.
That's what you said. Good point.
Yeah, that's the
So
thing.
that
Like
was
I
the origins, more or less, of nutrition. The cells that were able to go beyond protocell were consuming other things, including protocells.
Yep, and other yep.
That's
So-
where hypothesizing happens.
That's what
It
happens
would be nice
today.
if we could like, replicate that process.
That's what
like,
happens
in
today.
primordial conditions, but
You never
It happens
replicated this
today,
to
though.
prove it is the case. You have not done this in a lab.
This happens in nature today.
In
This happens in
nature,
nature
exactly.
today.
You did not recreate this. You need life to
Okay,
create
but
life.
we could observe.
Duh.
We could observe in nature today that life will eat precursors of life. We could
Well,
observe that.
I would argue that you need intelligence to recreate this process. And it's interesting that, like, we could do these marvelous things in a lab as intelligent beings while talking about a process that happened, say, billions of years ago, and we're not sure if an intelligent agency was there or not during that process.
Yeah, because you have to say rocks are sentient, right?
No,
Which
you
is dumb.
don't need. Let me answer that. Let me answer that. So there seems to be a sort of narrative where it requires somehow an intelligent creator in order to create all these lipids and all these, shall we say, all these compounds that are required to create a cell. And there's actually a very strong argument against that. And that is the fact that, and again, this is where the major misconception actually exists. What you have to understand is that there is a special type of rule when putting molecules and atoms together. Atoms have the ability to always form compounds that makes the molecule the most energetically favorable composition. So if you have hydrogen and oxygen and you bang those together, you're not going to get any type of magical compound. You'll always get water because it is the most energetically favorable compound. If you have carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, the most favorable condition and the most energetically favorable compounds that are going to form of that are amino acids. That's because molecules and atoms have this
That's
constant
lightning.
reconfiguration where they try to find their lowest energy favorable position. So it's not that
Yeah,
they're
but
just
like in the
banging rocks
Miller-Urey
together
experiment.
and then randomly life formed. That's not at all what happened. That's not all the argument at all.
But like in the Miller-Urey experiment, they had to evaporate it, strike it with lightning, then condense it, and then they got like a race of heterochiral amino acids with like 98% junk or at least 80% junk, giving it credit. So like that, like also in nature, organic compounds break down naturally because that's just what will happen. These molecules, these bonds for life will degrade, as you see when you put a living organism outside and it's dead, it'll just start to degrade. So that, like, you're always fighting against that at the same time.
And yet still life survives. We found bacteria. We found life in places
Yeah,
where we
it's
didn't think
It's
life would
amazing.
possibly survive. Yeah.
Living cells fight against that entropy. They have a lot of processes incorporated into them to fight against them. But in a non-living environment, abiotic, you don't have those mechanisms in place.
You don't know that.
No, we do know that because we don't have the cellular machinery that fights against that entropy and keeps these bonds stable. Like in the cell, they're constantly building up these molecules and keeping them stable. In the environment, you don't have that. Everything's just going to be moving towards degradation.
They're moving towards degradation because they're competing against other compounds and other bacteria. I mean, the competition is life versus life
Even
as well.
without
It's not
bacteria
just the
present.
environment.
No,
Yeah,
even
but
without
bacteria
any other
didn't
living
exist back then.
molecules present, things will degrade.
Yeah. Again, those type of bacteria didn't exist back then. It depends on the conditions.
What do you mean those type of bacteria? I'm talking about any living organism out in the open elements, in the sunlight and the weathering. Whatever Earth with no life is, like, will degrade.
Yeah, on the specific conditions, but we don't.
Yo,
But
Dr.
you don't
Pepper,
exactly
I
know
want
what
you to
those
read this
conditions
paper.
were.
Dr. Pepper, you have to read this paper about protocells, dude. You're saying stuff that's not true. Here you go.
Did you post it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Dr. Pepper, do you have a PhD?
I might have.
Oh, you might? I was just wondering if you have a
I might have.
doctorate. Okay, if you don't want to answer, it's fine.
So I just want to read this quote from this article that I just posted in text chat. This says right here, the catalyst generates a hydrophobic peptide product that makes fatty acids accumulate more efficiently in the vesicle membranes. This system can't yet evolve because the catalyst can't be passed from one generation of cells to the next. You're done. You're done, you're done, you're done. This doesn't prove evolution. This doesn't prove your biogenesis coming from rocks. This protocell requires there to be organic compounds. It says right here, prepare and close a catalytic peptide inside a fatty acid vesicle to make partial mimics of primitive cells, and those cells don't evolve in this lab-made experiment. You understand?
Yeah, because they're not reproducing, and they're not going to be able to carry on whatever traits they get unless they have a reproductive mechanism.
So I suggest everybody really try to comprehend that article, because this is where your lab-made protocells claim is coming from.
Can you send me that paper too with the
You got it.
quote?
Get him, Electric. Get him.
So I would say, basically, you're kind of not understanding what he's saying a bit. Abiogenesis is not here to speak for or about evolution on any level. That's not why abiogenesis is here. It's to answer, could life form from these structures? We have tested and we have produced precursors to modern cells multiple times over. So if the cell that they created in the lab can't reproduce, to Taylor's point, it's because that cell doesn't have the ability to reproduce. But there is going to be a cell with enough time that potentially forms that ability to reproduce. And then that cell, while these, like that one little fatty acid one that we were talking about that can't reproduce, that cell is going to outcompete that protocell. And as that protocell forms, that cell probably is going to consume that protocell. So you're speaking, he's speaking directly to the process of, but basically what he's saying is, yes, we can make precursors of life. We can't show how these precursors of life evolve. That's the statement.
In addition, these precursors to life are, in their idea of abiogenesis, billions of years ago, not just 7 to 10,000 years ago. So there's a
Yes.
context to this.
Yes, it takes billions of years. Like everything you're saying.
Time of the gaps. How do you
yeah,
demonstrate something takes billions of years? I don't know.
You look outside, but
Yeah.
then you look at the empirical tests that show the age of the planet. Then you look at the fossil record, and you show the transitions. That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
But I just want to mention in some cases time doesn't help because, as I mentioned earlier, without mechanisms to sustain these organic bonds, like they will degrade in the elements. But yeah, I see what you're saying, but it'd be nice even with the billions of years granted to have like a mechanism to how they could get to a self-reproducing cell.
And
They
all
can't
that
even come to
requires
a
is
consensus on how like this protocell could, have self-replication mechanisms come about for many reasons.
But do
Just
you, Taylor, do you agree that there's self-replicating RNA that naturally forms in nature?
Well, when you say naturally forms in nature, are you talking about from non-living molecules?
Yes, from rocks. So there's
Okay,
self-replicating
so the
RNA.
self-replicating RNA experiments, they either used primers and templates, or they used a tweaked RNA polymerase that was from a living cell.
Not true.
So both of those were not just like nucleotides
No,
that
that's not
randomly
true.
started doing that. That is true.
No, it's not.
How much money do you want to bet on it?
How much do you have?
Let's bet $100.
Sure.
Okay, so show me your paper. What are you claiming?
No, you made the claim. You made
You
the claim.
asked me if I'm
You
aware
made
that
the claim.
self-replicating RNA.
You
I
made the
told you the
claim.
cases in which self-replicating RNA is
Okay.
present.
I guess the
Is there
bet's
any
off.
other
You made the
cases?
claim, Taylor. You made the claim. I didn't.
You
No, the
literally,
bet is on, and I expect you to pay
you
up when
brought
you
this
prove it
up,
wrong.
and I asked you, is there
You
a
made the
case
claim,
where you
Taylor.
can have RNA just from
Yes.
nucleotides self-replicate? Because I
Okay,
gave you the
hold on.
cases where they got
Really quick.
self-replicating RNA. What cases were you talking about when you asked me the question?
I'm looking it up.
Go look at the materials and
Like,
methods to
the
self-replicating
way
RNA.
the way the conversation goes, it's like it's difficult to tell whether God assisted or not assisted life over a billion-year process, not a 10,000-year process. In this conversation of abiogenesis, scientifically speaking, is in the billions of year range, not the thousands of year range. So I think this conversation towards abiogenesis doesn't help the young Earth side of the argument.
Can somebody stop eating dishes or whatever they're doing?
Why would God take so long to do it?
Hey, he's eternal. He's got enough time. Forever's a long time.
What would Bev think?
What would Elder Bear think of an eternal God? Sorry.
I think
Yeah,
Elder Bear
leading
would be.
biochemists in the field, they know that they don't have a real good reason to say why genetic code is written the way it is. That's just a fact.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they can like just take nucleotides and get some sort of functioning genetic code that can encode proteins.
Yeah, just
Even when
saying
I
the word
ask people,
nucleotides barely describes the issue, you know?
yeah, like the order of them though, like with the activator sequences, with the genetic sequence, just basically separating the different genes, coding and non-coding regions, which all have
And
a
the question,
function. It's
And
amazing.
that begs the
Right.
question.
What gives the nucleotides these properties? Why are they coded the way they are? And typically, code is written, right? There's something intended behind the code. So to just say that the rocks are sentient and they could just code things by themselves and they are responsible for their own coding, it's kind of weird.
What do you think
So
about
which field can we ask
emergent
about the genetic code?
properties
Is it
and stuff
under
like that?
abiogenesis or is it under evolution? Where the genetic code comes from? Because I've gotten, like, whenever I ask about genetic code, they say, "Oh, that's abiogenesis," and when I ask about abiogenesis, they say, "Oh, that's evolution." How the code, evolves. So it's crazy. Like none of them, none of those fields really want to tackle that problem.
Well,
What I can see.
they tackle it in the context of billions of years, not tens of thousands.
Even with billions, I mean,
Right. All I'm saying
it's,
is like
it's
the
endless.
evidence for the Earth seems to be in the order of billions of years, not thousands of years. So even if God exists, it seems like he's been assisting in coding various kinds of DNA over many millions of years, not tens of thousands.
What you must have had some interaction with a young Earth creationist that rubbed you wrong, huh?
So here, Taylor, here's your
What did that
paper.
mumbling have to do with what I said?
No, you're fine. I'm
Here's
sorry.
your
I was
paper, Taylor.
keep bringing up the
It's
age.
about how clay forms
Of course, I
self-replicating
bring up the
RNA.
age. Like, if the nucleotides in amphibian life was happening 10 or 12 billion years ago, like that's an important information whether God assisted it or not.
Want my money? My money.
Yeah, can you DM me the paper real quick?
Yep, I'm sending it.
I'll be happy to
I'm
look
gonna
at it.
put it into the chat, but I'm stupid and I have a problem doing that sometimes. Okay, I'll put it right above, right below electrics.
You said this clay made self-replicating RNA?
Yes.
Is that the claim? Okay.
Yes, you can read the paper. I sent it in the chat. It's kind of interesting that the word clay was used, and they actually say the word clay when they say that God formed man out of something. That kind of struck me.
Not if you look at
I think
the
I know what this
context of
talking
that
about.
area. They had a lot of clay magic.
Well,
It's just interesting that we actually got
talk about it.
We actually got self-replicating
Talk about the
RNA
golem.
from clay. You know, like it's funny that we actually got self-replicating RNA from clay. That's interesting.
From clay, I think they did it on clay and they introduced it.
Okay.
We'll see. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, the creation story in the Bible says it wasn't clay alone.
Oh, I've always hear clay. That's all I really hear out of the mouths of people
Okay,
talking
so
about
this
it.
is
I
a
would
theoretical and
interpret it on the
computational study. This
elements
was not
of
a
a
traditional laboratory experiment. So they didn't actually
Because you
do.
find it in nature, right?
This is
Yes.
theoretical.
They're talking about their
theoretical
findings that they found in nature, correct?
Maybe link the experiment they did. This is
That they found in nature, correct? That they found in nature.
Yeah, but nature is
No,
not
it's
just
theoretical.
clay. Damn.
This is simulation. This is simulation that they ran, by the way. So try again.
So you don't do simulations in labs.
They did not
Where
get
do you do this?
self-replicating
Where do you
RNA on
do
clay. This is a
simulations? Where do you do
simulation.
simulations? Where do you
computational.
do simulations in your opinion?
This
It's
is
not in a lab.
hypothetical, bro.
Okay.
This is a theoretical study, not an experiment.
That's not even the truth. It's not a theoretical study. So
Yes, it is.
no, it's not. That's not the truth.
Yes, it
What
is.
is
They did a simulation.
What
Lab
is a
evidence.
study? What's the difference between a theoretical study and a non-theoretical study?
They're just like theorizing with a simulation.
What do you mean simulate like a computer?
You know, you don't have to pay me $100. You can keep your money. How about that?
No,
If you
like
just accept the
I
evidence.
still want you to keep trying to find the paper
Just accept the evidence.
where they
and you can
actually
keep your
did
money.
it, not like some you know, computer
You know,
simulation.
not that they simulated it in a lab, but the thing is, in the paper they actually did do this. So
No, they
you should
didn't.
just read the whole thing. It's like 47 pages, so I highly doubt you read the whole thing by now.
There's no like materials and methods. They just
There's
put
like
on a computer
47
program.
pages, so I highly doubt you read the whole thing right by now.
If
So
you look at the materials and methods, they just did a computer program, bro. Using the simulation platform called Early World.
yes, based upon the observation that they made in nature. Yes.
Which one? Which observation?
I don't want.
Dude, I just read something in this. I just read something in this paper that absolutely cooks you. Okay, this says this. Ready?
Okay.
All right. One model that gained significant attention since the 1980s is the RNA world hypothesis. According to its current version, in the framework of prebiotic systems chemistry, the first self-reproducing entities contained single-stranded RNA as genetic material, as well as protometabolism based on ribozymes, structured ssRNA molecules endowed with catalytic activities, including RNA ligase and RNA polymerase, whatever, likely assisted by short abiotic peptides. You're done. You are absolutely done. This article does not assist
Can
your
you
claim.
explain to me why I'm done?
So they need proteins in order to do. So they need proteins and multiple types of RNA. The peptides are
It took me
proteins.
like less than a minute to find that.
Can you explain to me why I'm done? Because that's not even what this is answering.
Because it's an abiotic peptide.
This is
likely assisted by a short abiotic peptide, so not
RNA.
clay alone.
It's not just clay. This is wow. It's like banging your head against a fucking wall. Like it
because
truly
it's not
is.
because it's not a good theory, dude.
It truly is.
He's done.
It's really not a good theory that you have biological life forms forming from clay alone. It's just not.
I didn't say clay alone. That's just what the. So, like I said, dude, it's
not
like banging
computer
your head against the
simulation
wall.
anyway. So if you have a real experiment, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I read that as well. It says it's not. It's a model. It's not even
What
real
are they
life.
simulating, Taylor? What are they simulating? What are they simulating, Taylor?
They're simulating what they thought happened.
They
they're simulating an
particular,
observation that they found in nature.
enzymatic RNA polymerization temple dependent
Are
replication.
they simulating an observation that they found in nature?
No,
They're
that's the
not?
problem.
Okay.
They haven't
All right.
actually done this observation.
Okay. There's no.
Yeah, this paper's great. I'm going to use this against you now.
You
this
should,
is awesome.
because it makes you look stupid if you do that, because it supports what I'm saying. That's the thing. Like it's.
I think this is great. I'm adding this to my favorites on my bookmarks right now.
Oh,
That's
I have
fine.
a 90-page document full of papers if you want them. Of
I
like
don't want any paper that you.
Yeah, I'm into
read,
reading stuff
because
like that right
if
now.
you're this
so.
confused, that'd be very bad.
Give me your email and I'll be sure to send it to you. Have you seen my presentation on it?
Dude, I watched that whole 3-hour presentation. I thought it was awesome. That was good. That was good stuff. Renee should have been there.
No,
Renee, you joined in a little too late.
I really shouldn't have at all. I really shouldn't have. And like seriously, Jesse, like the more you read the paper and the more you support my point and you laugh saying that it doesn't, I think that you're crazy and it's weird. Because I don't think that. I think you're really smart. I think you're really intelligent. But you doing this, it's like very weird. I expect this incredulity from Taylor. I don't expect this from people that have intelligence. So
well, that was rude to say. But, I'm actually interested in what biochemists say about this, not people just trying to relay what they think biochemistry is saying. Biochemists say that they don't have an answer for where life came from. They literally don't. Yeah, you have an inconclusive variable. They don't know how to make everything start working.
What they say,
they think they have all the components of a cell, but they can't have the cell actually be animated. They can't animate the cell.
What they're saying is that we have no idea exactly what it is, but we have an idea of how it happened and how it processed and how it formed. That's what the statement
That'd be
is.
nice if they can have a consistent model of how it happens in the environmental conditions of each component of the cell.
Everything would be nice to have a model. Just
you
like
could
it would
just
be nice.
concede.
I can't concede to ignorance. That's the problem, and that's why I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall.
Okay, then give us the model.
You're being
and tell us how life forms.
Like I said, I
take criticism.
Oh, I can take as much criticism as you throw. I just it's like conceding to ignorance it feels really defeating.
Do you,
It's like
give us
beating
some
your
don't
head
you
more.
against the
believe?
Go ahead.
wall.
Don't you believe in a creator? Don't you believe in a creator?
Do I believe in a creator? I'm not going to say yes because I don't want to have that conversation. So, no, I don't believe in a creator. I think everything in the Bible is stupid. And Earth is way more than 10,000
Oh
years
no!
old. How
Why are
about
you
that?
doing this?
There's other
Yeah.
creators than in the Bible. It's funny how people just like go to attack
Oh,
it first.
okay. Well, I don't believe in a Abrahamic creator. I don't believe in a Vishnu creator. I don't believe in absolutely any creator, and especially the creator from the Bible is stupid. On top of all the other ones, the one from the Bible is very
Okay, well,
stupid.
tell us your model to how life formed and how life
No,
got here. Then.
no, I don't want to because I'm talking.
All
I'm
right.
talking to
That's
an
good.
incredulous person.
All right. It was good talking to you.
You too. Not really, but it was. Thank you for the conversation. I guess.
This was great. Taylor's presentation in Earth Awakenings a few months ago is definitely worth watching.
Is there a
I
YouTube
know. I was thinking
video?
about doing it in here. Maybe
Okay,
one
I'm gonna
day.
post the link to it if
You
anybody's interested.
let me know when. I'll set up the event. If you want to get
Okay.
Grayson back, I can probably get him back too.
I give like my take on evolution, just from an average guy, is that it's not what I'm hearing is like it's not observable. You know.
We're not even talking about evolution. We're talking about abiogenesis.
Okay. Well, I think that came from evolution.
Well, no, it would be evolution came from
From
abiogenesis.
abiogenesis, exactly.
Yeah, like finding new genes form in evolutionary experiments. That's also been difficult with novel functions. You know, like new genes with new functions. Because we do see like duplications of genes happen under new activators. Like, like for example with the citrate experiment, that's one of the most famous evolution experiments with the Linsky E. coli experiment that was done for like 30 years, where they expedited the rate of replication of the E. coli, just testing evolution. What they found was like this gene that was normally only turned on in abiotic conditions was also turned on um, anaerobic conditions, was also turned on in aerobic conditions. So it was put under a new activator. So this is like a translocation of a gene and activator. So we do see duplications and translocations, and and point mutations, which can turn off functions, which can be beneficial. But gaining new genes and gaining new information with novel functions has been something that they're still trying to do and find in evolutionary experiments.
Are you just saying like what I'm hearing is like they can't create life out of organic matter or whatever?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's abiogenesis, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know like why they can't do it, but yet some people sit here and try and make out they can create life out of. I don't get it.
Sounds like it.
I would say, like, when we're doing it in the lab, we are the intelligent agent. But the thing is, like, how long would it take us to go from a biogenesis to another human? And it seems like the laws of physics, if a god was assisting with the coding, how long did that coding take? Was it 7 days, 7,000 years, or 7 billion years? It's an interesting question.
Yo, rocks came from life. Y'all gotta stop saying. Oh, my bad. I meant to say, rocks came from life. Y'all gotta stop saying life came from rocks.
You gotta stop saying life came from magic, Sky Daddy.
Well,
I never said that. That's a straw man. Where'd you get that from?
from a theist.
Magic Sky Daddy never used those words in my position. Stop straw manning.
We don't say life came from rocks either. Just stop straw manning.
Just take a bite from the
You
knowledge that
kind
Paul
of
loves
do.
to talk and snake.
You kind of do say that it came from Magic Sky Daddy. You kind of do.
From the pores and rocks. Different microenvironments needed for different components of the cell. Yeah, but the cool thing is like we actually still have these naturalistic processes where we should be able to replicate these environments that this happened. And like even if we're not replicating it, we should still be able to like create life in a lab if we've studied the cell so much. We should be able to reproduce it with all the technology we have, but we cannot create life from non-life. It's crazy.
To debunk creationism, you're asking man to be a creator.
No, I'm
Are we
just
doing a
saying like it
reset?
would be nice
Ugh.
for them to create it, but I'm not saying to debunk creationism, but even if they could create it, that would be cool. That's all I was saying.
But they'd be a creator then. That would not prove creationism.
I didn't say it would.
What do you got against the creator?
Well,
What's wrong with
you
that?
just consider that
Taking
God
game.
is a very advanced biologist, physicist, scientist, and a logician to come up with like laws of logic to say like I won't have self contradiction. I won't make married bachelors kind of thing. So yeah, it's just a matter of the time frame if God is an intervening agent.
Why would he make the river blindness virus? You know, that little bacteria or worm that eats out your eyes. Doesn't kill you, just eats your eyes so you're blind for the rest of your life. That's a pretty nasty god.
Well, I mean, you could object to the behaviors of the god, but that would still be something that the god did. So whether you like him or hate him, he would still exist.
So what you perceive as like, your suffering in the grander scheme of things, there could be a more profound reason it happened that you are not able to see.
Also,
Right over the last
like,
hour conversation is.
temporary pain or suffering in this life doesn't like preclude like everlasting joy afterwards. Like it's kind of like complaining that when you got born that you had a rash, a birthmark, and it might have been painful to your little infant body in the womb, but the long-term
Yeah.
side effects for the eternity would be like, well, I'm going to complain about the first 80 years of my life, but forever is going to be fantastic. So yeah, it is interesting. Like I sympathize with the current situation that like my current experience, I've only lived like about 40 years, and that it's very difficult to fathom the options of um, being kept alive and sustained by God forever versus an atheist probably standpoint where once my cells stop functioning, my sentience stops. So it's like comprehending what pre-birth thought would be
Dude,
the same.
yeah. So like the reason you don't like mosquitoes and you think like, oh, my life is so horrible, I'm suffering because the mosquitoes are biting me. Dude, you like not getting bit by mosquitoes. Like you got to think of it as like you're enjoying having the vessel. Okay, yeah, you don't like mosquitoes, but you really like not getting bit by mosquitoes, right? You got to be grateful. Yeah, there's tons of fucked up shit going on in the world, and it's not always like that. We suffer, we go through challenges, and it hurts sometimes, but so the fuck what?
And if you think of survival of the fittest, an eternal God would be the ultimate survivor.
Yeah, I feel like God experiences like a bazillion times more pain than any person could. He's literally like, trust me, y'all got it easy.
But it is interesting, like, of all the scenarios to create, like Boomer says, like if you had an option to have a universe without the Black Plague or with one, what? I guess it's about the motivations. I think it's a good question. Like, if you were able to ask God, like, why did you make a world that a Black Plague or the Holocaust could happen? I think it would be an interesting answer. And I guess that's the price of what some would consider free will. Some people freely and willingly sabotage, others freely and willingly do constructive activities. And I guess Boomer is in the party of people who would like to be doing more constructive things. So even allowing temporary suffering would be objectionable. But like you said, we are only thinking of terms of 80 to 10,000 years versus a potential God that is thinking in eternal terms. So it's like a rat or even an ant comprehending the life of the age of the internet. You know, there's so much information that the ant couldn't process it. Yeah, I personally would have preferred less suffering in my life, but I do wonder what I can learn through going through with it. Even if my suffering caused me death, what could I learn?
Wise statement.
Yeah, I used to ask myself stuff like that, like why do I suffer? Why me? And all kinds of shit like that. And it's like, dude, I am the perfect person for this. Like I am going to be the example to show anybody after me, like there is a way through it. You know, these
And
challenges that we face in life, we're supposed to be making the example of how to survive through the most difficult, painful things.
right, and that gets you out of the mental trap of playing the victim. Like it's always happening to me. It's all bad. But if you have an ancient instruction, whether it be theological or evolutionary, that says get through this, survive, make sure your children survive, make sure your children's children survive. It's like this kind of motivation to almost say, entropy, kick yourself in the ass. I'm going to battle you, even if it kills me. It's like it may be impossible, but humans are just known to like go, give me a challenge, and I'll at least try and delay the inevitable. You know.
I think it's in the battling, as you put it, where all the suffering is. I think the real wisdom is to surrender to it completely. The battle is where the suffering is. That's in my
Bit of
experience.
Islam, Andy. That's a
Is
bit,
that what he says in Islam?
You know, submit to the will of Allah. You know.
Oh yeah, certainly. A Muslim means to a person surrendered to God, doesn't it? Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really think of God as I think most people do, as some suggested, like a sky daddy or an individual with some personality. Because personality, when you think about it, requires time, and that whatever it is has no time. There's no time there. There's no time involved with it, right? It's spirit. It's not fucking what we think of as personality. I don't think of a
you're the
person
type
with
of
a
being that
willy.
always has, if you're the type of being that always has, currently is, and always will be, you might be the most emotional. Like you have the most time.
Yeah, I don't really think of it as male, female. I don't think of it as a personality. I just don't. I don't know. I don't sort of entertain that idea. I'm not saying that it is or it isn't. I'm just saying it never occurs to me. That's why you've never heard me, suggesting that, oh, God God couldn't just create good, because that wouldn't be creation. That would just be expansion. God could only create bad, and then its creation, in a godlike way, could make good out of that bad. Isn't that an interesting way of looking at it? It's very different. I love it.
But yeah, like I don't know if the battle between like, okay, you're in a war-torn village, just go, no, I'm not going to do anything, say anything about it, just submit to my war-torn village. I think there's like an aspect of humanity that says like, it's kind of the job to lift up the job of the strong to lift up the weak. So if I have strength, I don't cave into power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I use the either intellectual powers, physical powers, or even emotive support to raise up people, to drag them out of their depression into their optimism and their potential growing status.
I mean, without some sort of connection to the internal, within that divine is it's difficult. Words start to break down, but without that connection, that all that a person's going to see is suffering and death, and, as you said, entropy and all the rest of it. So there needs to be that connection and that understanding of eternal. Otherwise, what are we doing? Are we just then you just go in the ground and that's it? I mean, there's sort of pointless, hopeless, and all the rest of it, isn't it?
Well, it's not necessarily hopeless. Like listening to a optimistic nihilist, they say, "I've got maybe 80 years if I'm lucky. Can I make the best of those 80 years as possible and leave the world slightly better than when I arrived?" I'm not sure if everyone on the earth currently has that attitude with all the wars and the continued unforgiveness and revenge kind of aspects of life. But yeah, I look forward to humans just like taking that approach of like making it just a little bit better and not just for the for the selfish experience of my 80 years, to make it hedonistic for me in my own personal point of view. I would have to be considerate of others when I'm pursuing enjoyment.
I just again, it's difficult. What sort of person we talking about? An atheist?
Or I don't want to slide people into categories because I don't want to do sweeping generalizations, because I sympathize with people who go, well, if there's a God and there's such things as the Black Plague and other biological things, it's like, if God cares about me, how come he isn't dealing with this issue? Or how come the scientists aren't praying to say, God, give me an insight to work with you for a cure to this cancer or virus? So it's interesting that like if science is recognizing there's a problem, but they're only going to consult physics, it seems like juggling with one hand, or instead of like, yeah, it could be possible that God is interested in assisting us in our lives. But yeah, it's difficult because I can understand why for the agnostic or agnostic atheist that God seems very far away from the issues at hand sometimes.
I think it's difficult for us to see that sometimes we might need, like the horribleness that I went through. I see now that I needed it. And that's a very odd situation to find yourself in, isn't it? To look back on something that alcoholism is what it was. I know most people know that, but just in case someone listening that didn't, yeah, you find yourself thinking, well, because I was so stubborn that I needed something terrible, like a baptism of fire, if you will. So I can look back on that now and go, I needed that. It's a very
Yeah.
strange situation, isn't it? So it
Right.
could
Well, that's
be,
just in hindsight, bro.
yeah, but it could be on the same scale on a large scale as you're talking, that human beings need this challenge, basically.
I think one of the things Anvil said, it's something that's always missed. If you do say there is nothing after this, say there is even, but the goal is to leave something on Earth better than how you found it. You know what I mean? Um, I think that approach it's very appealing, I guess, because, like I said, it doesn't matter if there is a heaven, it doesn't matter if there's a hell. If your goal is to make the world better, I feel that you're going to be doing more good than bad throughout your time here.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds good to me. The problem is if you end up in a worldview where you're a nihilist, I just don't see the motivation there at all. You know what I mean? It's just all I see coming out of that is a sort of apathy.
Yeah.
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I think for someone who's thinks, okay, absolutely no God. It takes billions of years. We're just one of the many planets with very temporary life. In the context of like 100 billion years, we're barely the bat of an eyelid in the eyes of the universe. Like our wars, our disagreements, our love, our passion, our artwork, it's very temporary. And all you can maybe do is temporarily enjoy that blink of the eyelid before non-experience, whatever that feels like.
Well, I know in my own personal experience, and I often credit Eckhart Tolle for sort of seeing my way out of it, was that I was always in those thought streams, and therefore I was always sort of in a state of anxiety, in a reactionary state, as the ego generally is, and then so you're anticipating a future that may or may not be, and therefore sort of, like I said, anxious. And yeah, and it weren't until I sort of surrendered to the what is that I really started to find some wisdom, I guess, inside. And then I once heard somebody define wisdom as the ability to cope, and I really like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah,
I would
I'd
consider.
highly recommend getting out of those thought streams, and the way you do that is total surrender and to accept that that's what's happening. And for me, I can now find myself in a position where I can choose. I can choose to follow a thought or not. So it is possible.
Wow.
You don't have to just, consume alcohol to slow those thought streams down or to not have them at all. You can do it without it. So
Right. It gives yourself poise to weigh the options instead of just being a reactionary being that's just saying, I have a chemical impulse, therefore I will do X. Yeah.
yeah, I can just be, basically. I can just sit still and not think of anything and just
Or,
enjoying myself, basically.
right, what about being proactive though? Like, it seems like
That's interesting because that's a double-edged sword to, I would say, Eckhart Tolle's teaching, which is when you dwell in being, it feels so nice that there's the fine print. There's always a bloody fine print, isn't there? And that is then to actually dwelling in being is so nice that then doing becomes an issue, right? Because you're like, well, where's my
well, yeah,
motivation? Because this feels so nice. I
because
don't want to do anything.
even if life were only temporary, if your life goes from one side of the riverbank to the other, if you choose to do nothing, you're going over the edge of the waterfall quicker. So I'm more interested in going, it's not necessarily fighting the current, it's more like, can I at least get to the other side of the bank? I'm not trying to swim up to the source of the river. I'm just trying to cross to the other side of the bank. That's how I would consider um, progress instead
I
of
love,
just
I love
going
that
with it.
story Alan Watts talks about. He's always got these old Chinese stories or something like that, Auntie Alan.
Progressing lives. It's a struggle to understand that I, as one human, could only maybe help in a significant sense, maybe a crowd of 50. But yeah, long term life progress, that's where we get family, and families make communities, and communities make nations. And yeah, I am a small part of a nation. So it just, I think, what kind of change or influence are you happy with? Would you be happy with influencing your own family, neighbors, and neighborhood, or would you want to be like one of those persons who uh, go towards being a president to make changes that would navigate society away from poverty and malnourishment, and but also balance that with the population numbers? It's tricky. you know
But doesn't that come down to the us normal people, though? I mean, who do we elect? I mean, like, look at the difference between, like, say, the Scandinavian model and the American model when it comes to everyone chipping in to help your society to have a better life instead of being selfish and, nah, I'm gonna keep everything for I'm not gonna pay for anyone else. It's just for me and my family.
Mm. And I think
Yeah,
that's where personal
you don't.
preference has its hand in this sort of poker game. Like, some people are dealt a hand and they might go, well, with this hand, I could probably do okay with my own friends and family, maybe some of my neighbors if I'm lucky. But other people, they could become like a multi-millionaire with a business and have like 1,000 employees. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have a problem with selfishness. I'm very I can be a very selfish person, and for me, I've said this a lot, and because I was so broken as a youngster, then as I got, all I cared about was sort of finding some inner peace, and then I seem to have acquired enough of that where I go, well, the world's doing this thing, and it's kind of nothing to do with me now. You know what I mean? It's like I just don't care. Like it's not that I don't care. It's just that it is what it is. Like egos are going to do what they're going to do, and I'm just going to be over here, and I'm going to be at peace with myself. And then
Right.
you know, and I can't really affect it too much. I can extend someone a smile and be polite, which I do a lot, as much as I can, you know. But is that really enough? I mean, I
Well,
don't think it
like
really is. I don't
that,
know.
I guess that's the inner voice sometimes we go, I feel like the world's in a little bit more pain, but I did a little bit, but maybe I could do a bit more. And you
Wait,
realize,
that
well,
reminds you know what it reminds me of? Christianity. This is why I keep advocating for Christianity, and people must think, why? Because you don't even believe in it. Well, I'll tell you why. Because the whole self-sacrifice thing for others is the sort of main message, right? That's the whole message of the bloody thing is to
You don't, yeah,
make the world a better
but
place.
you don't need that. I mean, if you need a religion to tell you how to behave nicely, then there's a problem with you. If you know what I mean. If you can't be a nice guy,
Something wrong with people then, Stefan. 'Cause
absolutely yes, but yeah, and you're totally right. And some people do need that. But I mean, going back to the Scandinavian model, like for me in Norway, where the majority of it today does not believe in any god, still we have this every yearly collection of money, people walking from house to house, and everyone is chipping in for different organizations, Doctors Without Borders and stuff like that. And this small country ends up collecting like 3, 4, 500 million NOK out of ordinary people's pocket. Everyone chips in, even though the religiosity is very, very low.
right, right. And that changes the aspect of society from a taxation to a voluntary contribution to the society. So you don't feel like the government's wrenching the money out of your pocket. You feel like society is worth investing into, and I will voluntarily take it out of my pocket and give it to someone else. Very interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we do that. That's a national candidate. So the whole fucking day on telly, companies chips in. You have auctions of things that people put forward. Yeah. But then again, it might have to do with the society we live in. I mean, we got a extreme, well functioning sort of social security net. So you know that if you get sick or you lose your job or something, you will get benefit. You have free healthcare and so on. So you don't have to worry about those things. That could be a part of it as well.
Yeah, I tried to get this documentary that I saw recently, but it basically explains how, like, on a molecular level, our sensors is all what you might call pain. Pleasure is actually pain at the micro scale. Like when the wind blows and like you feel the breeze and it feels good. It's actually chaos for your skin cells.
I'm not so sure. I mean, you do get these, the brain creates these chemicals that sort of gives you a happy feeling. So I think it works both ways. What the hell is it called again?
Dopamine.
Dopamine, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but I'm not finding this documentary. It sucks. Yeah, like I'm still hung up on that comment, the nasty God. In order for something to be nasty, you had to have experienced stuff that's not nasty, and you like that, and he created that too. So, not that nasty.
Yeah, yeah. But one of the problems, though, for me is these unnecessary sufferings. I mean, earthquakes, tsunamis, and those kind of things. That if it was made by an all-powerful God, he could easily create a world without that. And I don't see why that would be necessary.
I guess you want everything to just be formless gray blobs. You want that?
No, I mean,
Well,
if he
think
couldn't
about
create it
God's
if he
own.
couldn't create it in any other way, then it's not all powerful. But then we're back to the problem with how we humans seems to define our gods into what we think it should be from our experience to fit our narrative.
Yeah, it's all just like, I mean, what I hear from you guys mostly is it's all just like subjective, like what you think is good and what you would call power, like, and then you got this whole like evolutionary thing. It's like the strong will survive. Well, what does the strong mean? Definitely doesn't mean the guy who has the most muscle, because he can't squeeze through the tiny crack to survive. So it really means the weak to survive. It's all just arbitrary, subjective. What you think is good. Like it would be good. God would be great.
Did you drop out?
Therefore God doesn't exist.
You kind
No,
of dropped
but-
off at
no.
the end.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's not the strongest; it's the fittest. There's a big difference
Right.
there.
It's My point is, it's subjective. Yeah.
No, it's the creature that is best fitted to the environment at that point of time, which has most offsprings, which
Yeah,
then
so yeah,
moves
yeah,
further.
I'm
So
aware.
it's not the strong. Yeah, it's not the strongest one.
Right. So when I clarify, I say, well, you don't really mean strongest. What you mean is fittest for the situation, because the big strong guy can't get through the small little crack to survive. So now, for the small guy is the fittest. Yeah, I understood it from the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah. We agree. But doesn't it all come down to, I think at least, the difficulty to accept that you might not exist anymore at one point in life? Basically, the fear of death. What's after death? I think it's really hard for people to accept that there might not be anything after death.
Yeah, that's what leads to atheism, agnosticism. Yeah, it's fear through unworthiness, etc.
No, no.
Kind of
I
reminds
think
me of this episode I just saw yesterday of South Park, where in South Park they were getting put into, what do they call it, foster care with a agnostic family. It just fucking reminded me of you guys.
I don't think it's fair. I think it's more that you come to the conclusion that, yeah, there might not be any more after you die. Yeah, I see the hope for existing after you die. I see that, but that's no fear involved at all. It's not like you're scared of whatever's going to happen after you die then, because you accept it. Okay, 14 billion years I didn't exist, then I come along and stay here for a short blink of an eye, and I'm gone again. I go back to where I came from.
Yeah, no thanks. You Christians are under fear. The whole religion is a fear thing.
Yes, it basically is. If you don't, then you go somewhere where you don't want to go.
Well, the question is, if you currently behave in a certain manner, will you become your own worst enemy? Kind of thing. So if you constantly push away a God that says, hey, I've got a perfect paradise where it's going to be better than here, it's almost like you're sort of pushing yourself like towards a cliff that says, like, well, falling off it's going to be unpleasant, and then blame God for your own actions of pushing yourself away from that God. It's interesting. Like,
I think one of the problems there is,
prefer-
I think one of the problem there is that you sort of set your life on hold because you're sort of waiting for the next life and everything's going to be good. Well, all we know is we have this life, and if you really want to do good, you have to do it now. Whatever's going to happen after you die, you have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, agreed. So the time is now, and I think what's sort of holding flat Earth back is like there are people all over the world that either want your help, want your counseling. We've laid internet cables as far as the eye can see, and even under the oceans. It's like we've got some of the best tools to communicate, help psychologically, ships to have supplies, airplanes to get doctors to certain places. So I think like we're in a good position to provide assistance if and when needed, but also allow certain groups to sort of go, can we just let that society learn from its own mistakes? And that might be difficult for those who want to inject charity, but sometimes it might be worth going, hey, you've got to sort of sort out your own issues, and if I help you, you you might just take my charity for granted. But if you sort of learn it and take it on, your society can stop sort of corrupting itself from being a worse version of itself. It's just difficult of understanding if, when, and how to assist in the progress of a place that you feel is disharmonious or unharmonious.
Yeah,
It's
it's like, yeah, you don't want to end up with imperialism again. You know what I mean? If you put actual demands behind your assistance, then we might have a bigger problem. And as you said, yeah, give them assistance, but let them sort it out themselves.
And when you have that kind of Silk Road mentality, these nations can thrive because they have something that Australia doesn't. So if we don't have avocados, that's okay. We can bring a couple here and have our own farms. But there's something kind of like special about champagne from France, or cheese from Switzerland, or like you're going to the experts in their field with the best environments for that. And I guess it's okay to have a few hydroponics and that. For, yeah, it's just interesting to like celebrate our differences rather than fight over them or artificially plant them, because it's an interesting idea to like.
That was a very good comment. Yeah, celebrate the differences. I really like that one, as you said. Celebrate the differences. That's fucking brilliant. Because that's what we should do.
Yeah, so that's the Republican mindset. Yeah, Republicans are right the whole time.
But could a Republican celebrate the difference of the other party? That's the real question.
That's what they do. Yeah, they say, hey, you are you, I am me. We're not the same, and that's okay.
They celebrate the black people with the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, they say you are black, you are not white, you are different. And then
Get
the
on the
blacks,
tree.
then they get all riled up, like, no, we're not, and they're, yes, you are. You have a different culture. You're different.
So American blacks have a different culture. Where did they come from?
That's correct.
Where did it come from? I'm just asking.
I like Flatty's get on that tree. That was hilarious.
Yeah, you promote within a culture. It's something that you what would be the right word for it? Like tend to. Yeah.
I think you're correct that they say that. I don't think they add the "and that's okay" part at the.
Well, I mean, I think it's implied by them saying, by them trying to, trying to enforce that there's a difference and it ought not be ignored.
Well, or it not be ignored, but how does that make it okay? If more Republicans per capita are against mixed race marriages, isn't that
It's a
kind of
beautiful
saying?
thing. I mean, how else would you preserve the beautiful culture of the races other than saying, don't mix? Like, you don't mix, because then you won't preserve your culture.
I'm pretty sure the culture of the racist is not really worth preserving.
That's the democratic mindset. Yeah, exactly. Unlike Oblate, myself, and Stefan, you think we should destroy the beautiful culture that we have in diversity in the world.
I don't think that.
No,
The
no.
culture of the
The thing-
racist is not
and
beautiful.
cultures,
That's
yeah,
like
and
the
cultures
Klan.
that
If you want to preserve that, I don't have a lot good to say about that.
cultures
Well,
has
maybe you have
always
a different
evolved.
theory. How do you
No, but
how do you
yeah,
preserve the cultures then?
the cultures are changing all the time in any society, even if they are isolated. Over time, it changes.
If
It's
your
just the way
culture
it
is
is.
racist, I think you probably need to fix it.
I mean, is there one right way? Are we trying to go towards one singular, fix or good or whatever, or is there multiple goods?
I don't think that this is distinct in the way that you're imagining it is.
Well, you said we ought to. If there's something wrong in that culture, we should fix it. So we're going to fix it towards
Yeah,
different.
racism. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think racism is a plus.
Racism.
I have a question about this. Right. So the idea is racial mixing leads to like the loss of cultural identity. And my question is, fuck, I forgot my question. Sorry.
Should we do that? Should we work towards that?
Towards what?
I don't see that as a proxy to losing cultural identity. Race mixing? Like you're pretty much saying that oh, now I remember what I was gonna say. Like, do you want to be identified as part of a culture if you truly don't practice it? Like the idea that Irish people herd sheep, and you never herded a sheep in your life. But if I look at you and you look Irish, like, is it right for me to assume that your cultural identity is that, you think you should be herding sheep? Because that's how I would generalize Irish people.
That's a
But
proud people.
but aren't you talking about cultures and not race? I mean, you can have races which have the same culture, so you need to differentiate between the two, I think.
I mean, at the
Right,
end
like
of the day,
should I be associating Irish people with being sheep herders in every instant? Like, if you look Irish, should I think that your identity has to do with herding sheep if you've never done it before?
there's a danger in stereotyping. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
you
but
call
like that's
unconscious
so is that
bias.
like a so if it wasn't sheep herding, say it was the
Potato farming.
say it was the creation of gold or some sort of ridiculous thing, right? Like so whatever the best thing is, like you're the culture responsible for breast implants in women or something. I don't know. Then it would be good, right? It would be just good. It's just that you have this negative thought
which
about
culture came
sheep
up with
herding.
that?
I don't know if we just made something up, like you guys created diamonds out of thin air.
Well, it changes how humans treat jewelry. If you can chemically create a diamond instead of like sending
What?
someone down into a cliff or under heavy rock and endangering their life, lab-grown diamonds exist. It's just rearranging carbon.
I'm just making something up. A make believe thing. You guys are the guys who created water for the first time ever, not sheep herders. You're the water creators. Then everybody be like, dude, I want to be just by being Irish. I want you to be like, yeah, dude, you guys are responsible for some great stuff. Like sheep herding is great, but now there's some kind of negative thing to it.
Because it's a generalization, it's a sweeping stereotype where Irish.
Yeah, but I get
have
that.
a
I understand that
variety
point. But
of
if it was a
activities.
good stereotype, that's the point. If it was something that you liked, that everybody liked and could appreciate. Yeah,
So what about the African
then you would
American
have like
stereotype that African American males have big dicks? Every guy wants to have a big dick, but everybody's not walking around saying that they're black.
Well, just this part of me is, not all of me. You see what I'm saying? So like that's a positive. You'd be like, wow,
Well, you said that if it's a positive
I'm
trait, other
only
people.
It's a shame to speak out like
I don't
that.
know that I believe you. I don't know that I believe you there.
Yeah, like
Or
her
mixed race, you
grand.
mean that you're like married to a German woman or something?
No, her grandfather is 100% Filipino, right? So now, but that's like something that's just getting mixed, like regarding he was the stereotypical, like did everything the little Chinese, Asian, Filipino people do, but now that's just gone. It's now gone.
Not really, because you can have those mixed skin tones go back to the Philippines and be involved in that culture and fully embrace
I mean, that's ridiculous. That's literally the. I mean, that's literally racism. You're just casting it as something good, but I don't think you really think that. I don't believe for a minute you really think that.
She can't garden worth nothing, dude. Like nothing. She didn't get anything from it, but him, he was great at gardening. Just he could turn anything into a garden.
But gardening isn't a genetic trait. It's something if you're.
I was going to say
it's cultural. Yeah, the cooking and the gardening and the making of he grows his own herbs, his own food.
So all Filipinos
all
good. All Filipinos are great lawn guys. Got it. Okay.
This one is.
Yeah, I
It's part of the culture, and then it gets washed out.
I can't believe you're trying to sell this as a as anything but racism. I mean, that's ridiculous. You don't have kids, do you?
Yeah. Well, they're a little bit Filipino, so they're not all mine. They're a little Filipino.
Would you like your kids to hear that?
No, I tell them all the time. I say to them, hey, look, you're actually like a little bit Chinese. And they're like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm like, you're a little.
Stop.
Your eyes.
Let's think of you.
What's the problem? That's what I'm saying. You guys think it's a problem, and
I do. Yeah, that is a bit of a dude. That's like borderline child abuse.
Yeah, you think there's like some sort of like hierarchy of which one is better, like one like Filipino versus black versus one is better, and to distinguish it and to point out like, oh, you're a little bit, you got a little gardener in you, you're a little Filipino is a bad thing.
I could argue that your Filipino or part Filipino kids are Filipino washed your whiteness.
I don't know what you said.
Well, if you've got a white culture that your parents had and your grandparents had, and those people were good at something, your whiteness got Filipino washed.
What is white culture?
Exactly. Yeah. I actually was going to touch on that. Like, there is no white. There's no culture to being white. It's cultureless.
Oh, so just like there's no accent for being white, right?
Accent? No, there's just like, I mean, the white people, what do they do? Like the the stereotype is they're just oppressive, like I don't know, like brats or something, right? But then when you say, okay, well, Filipino people, They're great in the fields. They know agriculture. Black people hung like a horse. Whatever you want to say. This was just the two examples brought up. Like Italians, great at making wine. Right? White people. White people. What are they good at? Nothing.
Are you talking about Anglo-Saxons? Are you talking about people from Upper Norway, like the Vikings? What happened to the Viking
Well,
culture?
those are all cultured people. Now when you muddy them all up, you get white people who are nothing. They have no culture.
So,
That's not
so you
true.
say, no, that's a fucking lie.
Yeah,
The
that's not
culture,
true. I know my
yeah.
descendancy and I know my culture, and you are basically, dude, you don't know shit about yourself nor your background. You lack culture, but the rest of us don't. I know Steph
Yeah,
has
yeah.
a proud culture, and Steph knows I do. You are dead set wrong, dude. That is so
Yeah, I
hard to
I
believe.
get what you're saying. You're saying in order for me to find my culture, like to find like what is special about me, I would have to go into the past to the purest of the culture to say, well, I have that in me. Yeah, but that's somewhere in the past.
Absolutely not. If you want to have a culture amongst a certain skin color, like it's a social construct. Like in Upper Norway, I would guess like the large majority of the population has lighter skin tones, and in Australia, we're predominantly lighter skin tones as well. But our cultures are vastly different, and our
Oh, well, listen,
attitude.
we'll do a test. You guys, like Boomer included, you guys point to a culture without denoting like the geography or the race. Go ahead, point to a culture without it.
Internet culture.
All right, there's one, Boomer.
Yeah.
Campfire culture.
Oh, what is it?
Sitting around a campfire eating meals with your friends and relatives. That's a culture.
No, it's got to be specifically white to make it fair.
No, he said a culture. Pick out a culture. That's a culture.
I'm just thinking we can find culture that is specifically white, mostly white, that black people just don't care about, sort of thing.
No, we want everything. We're gonna take
There's
everything.
black methods
It
too.
exists.
Go on.
There is
No,
white culture.
There's black methods.
So what if as a person from one of these ethnic backgrounds that you believe you've identified, if they're not meeting the stereotype, are they watering it down to begin with?
Yeah, they're not embracing they're not embracing the culture. Yeah, they're
So
doing
my
away with
wife is a doctor with a specialty. Does that make her not embracing her culture?
it. No, if your Asian wife is exactly embracing her culture.
What, say that again?
Your Asian wife is embracing the culture, obviously.
She's not Asian.
Well, then I don't know what she's identifying as Asian, apparently.
She's Asian.
From Haiti, is that what you mean, Omni?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's probably darker skinned than most people on this, most of the black people that you meet.
No
What
takes.
was
What
the
are you?
what was the
What are
question
you
about her?
talking about, man?
Does that mean
I would say there's many white cultures because there's many of the paler skinned folk who were like travelers, investigators. I don't think they were locked to their location. They wanted to. It's like our own
Just
language of English is just like, you've got a really cool word for that. Can we borrow that and like incorporate it into our
I
culture?
was thinking English. I nearly wrote that down. The language becomes culture because it's so good.
But I mean, just think about Europe. Every single country has a different culture.
Yeah.
And you can even
But
think
I
for
don't.
even the accents of England itself. It's a small place, but you got people like Elderbear, and you got people like We Am the Queen. Like the accents alone are cultural, and they're all basically white. And even
I
if a
think it's
person,
more. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead. You were.
Dude, listen, everybody's afraid of you, B-Ball, for a reason.
No,
All
I
these
think I
all these
was.
white
Someone
people
was
in here are afraid of
talking.
you.
No, somebody was talking. I cut him off. My bad.
Oh, I had like two words at the end of the sentence. I thought they got through, but it's all good. Carry on.
I was just saying, like, like the things that people eat, like that's a part of their culture. But I don't think like the type of sport they play or the type of job they choose is part of their culture. Is that what you're trying to say, No Tanks?
No, I don't think that the job that they choose is part of the culture either. That was Omni's example.
Well, what was your example?
Well, I didn't have an
Okay, so
example. I was just promoting the
just a
idea
second.
that
Wait. Just a second. I asked you, and you said no. She's embracing her culture because she's Asian. That was your response, No Tanks. In case
Because she's a doctor.
In addition, you said your wife's grandparents was an excellent gardener, so you did associate it to a profession.
they're good in the fields.
Yeah, I don't know if he was
Yeah.
getting paid. He wasn't getting paid for it. He
Regardless of
worked in
payment, that
worked I think
you're
with a
signed.
union in stationery.
So, but if she was Asian, she would have been embracing her culture.
Correct.
Yeah. So no, I think if you're trying to say it's not about jobs, you're inconsistent with your own rhetoric.
Nope.
Especially when mention your grandfather's or wife's
how is
grandparent expertise.
how is being a doctor part of a culture?
It seems to be part of the Asian culture. I don't know. That just seems to be
Is it
what they
though?
promote. Yeah.
I don't. Is that true? I don't think that's true.
Yes, it is true.
It's a straw man of achieving the best for your family, because often for a huge population such as China, there's a huge chance you're going to be growing up in a rural village. So there might be expectations of like, why you aren't a doctor yet? Because the hope for a better pay or a better job is taking the people who are in those rural communities into a slightly more advanced community. So
That's a
it's
beautiful way of putting it. Maybe it's because of their love for herbal medicine that it's just part of their culture, and then it evolves into doctor.
I don't know. I disagree.
Yeah, you could, but yeah, the point is not about professions. I don't know. That was some Omni's thing he brought up. I don't know. He said, "Is it okay?" Something about his wife being a doctor. I don't know, but yeah, the culture isn't about the profession strictly, right? The doctor can come home and then embrace her culture and foster that culture, but it's just being destroyed by telling everybody that there is no differences, distinctions between them, and that they should, assimilate to the American culture, which is just cultureless.
No, we celebrate each other's culture. We actually celebrate the other person's culture. So I don't know where you got that from.
And
How
I
do you
would say
celebrate it?
the American culture is very
embracing
dynamic.
it.
You have some Americans who like the gun culture. You have other Americans who like um, the barista culture,
Yeah,
the
I
the
think
the 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 sculpted man beard with the beard wax culture. Like, there's so
yeah,
many cultures in America. Like,
we
it's
celebrate it by
speaking in
allowing.
generalizations. It's stereotyping to say you have no culture when, in fact, it's multicultural.
Yeah, we celebrate
There's
it
no
by
culture in that.
allowing everyone else to come here and we celebrate it by allowing everyone to come here and practice their own culture and embracing that.
Do we allow them to practice their own culture, or do we
Absolutely,
foster the ideas that they
absolutely.
ought to assimilate and
No,
intermingle and not be distinct anymore? So to remove stereotypes and
no, we
culture.
allow people to we allow people to practice their own culture.
In which, I mean, how do we
Absolutely.
foster that? How
If
do
you
we foster it?
just go to New York and see how many different cultures there are.
Yeah, there'd be a
Because
Chinatown. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's to my point, not your point.
Yes, we allow them to practice their own culture.
Yeah, we allow them to segregate. Is that what you're saying?
No, we allow them to be their own people. If they want to practice their own culture in their own community, that's okay. We don't allow them to
Should we? Yeah,
segregate. What do you mean
should we
segregate?
tell them that there's no difference between them and us, and that they ought to just be the same as us because there's no difference between them and
No,
us?
we don't want them to be the same as us. We allow them to be who they want.
I mean, don't you agree?
I don't
We
know.
don't.
I don't think
People
that's
don't.
really.
People don't
I don't
come
really
here. We
think
say
that's
no. You
the
can't. You can't practice
point.
your culture anymore. You have to be just like us.
Who is us? Who is
The
them?
American,
Amer-
the American
yeah, exactly.
culturalist,
Who is American?
So
Americans. Everybody.
American culture is what?
culturalist.
How do they become
What?
just like us?
Dogs,
Baseball and hot
hamburgers, and
dogs?
fireworks.
Baseball and hot dogs and F-150s.
Correct. I just got an '88
Leaving your dog
F1.
outside all night.
I just got an '88 F-150. This thing is like a piece of junk. It's worth like $12,000. What kind of culture is that?
I don't know.
And kissing your dog in the mouth.
I wouldn't call it a culture though.
And there you go, culturalist.
That's fine. Well, America is a great melting pot where all cultures come together.
And do they turn? Yeah. And do we foster that people should remain, distinct or become Americans?
They are
Yeah, you can
distinctly
be
American.
whatever culture you want and still be a part of America.
If you want to have mixed children, you're allowed to do that. If you would like to have Jewish wife and Jewish husband, that is your choice to do so. You're
Yeah,
not.
that's a choice, but I don't. I'm not worried. I know that that's a choice that people can make. But should we? It's not that Should we be working towards muddying or watering down the distinct cultures that have
Are we
pride and
doing
have
that?
a long history?
Are we doing that? You
Or not?
cut out, man.
You cut me off.
I mean, new cultures are arising, and it's very difficult for the old cultures to adjust. People might have different views of the LGBTQI community. Like
Yeah.
you see, like that could be considered. You think culture is like making everything grey, but they would say they're making everything a rainbow. Like whether you agree with it or not, it seems to be a new culture. Like it's only about
Yeah,
100
well,
years
it's retarded.
old at
Yeah, it's
most.
retarded. It's retarded because what happened was
Yeah.
they were told, right, by people like you guys who have this idea, this mindset that like race, geography, distinction in these ways, and the things that come about from that should not be fostered, and they make you a bigot. So they say, well, then what's going to make me distinct? I have to now identify as. I can't identify as like an Asian, so I have to identify as a asexual robot pony. Yeah, you've
Who's
destroyed
saying
these
that?
people.
Where are you getting this from?
Oh, Blade Anvil.
Wow.
Does
Yeah, because
anyone?
it's racist to embrace their Africanness or their Asianness or their Haitianness. It's
Says
racist
who?
now to be like
Says who?
I'm a proud Haitian. It's now racist to do
No,
that.
it's not.
So now they have to do away with that with with the things that they should be fostering and say, well, now
No,
what
it's
makes me
not. No one says
distinct?
that.
Now I have no distinction from everybody else around me, so I can't point to those things. So I'll just point to me internally, and I'll say, listen, I don't identify as anything. I don't even know. I identify as a chair. I'm a distinct chair,
Listen, you can have
pony,
it,
dildo, strap-on, rainbow girl. Yeah.
you can have a white person, right, who was born in Africa, right, and grew up around African cultures, beliefs, practices, and they're a part of that culture, regardless of what color of skin they have. They can still embrace that culture and be a part of that culture because they grew up around it. Doesn't matter what color of skin you are.
Yeah, think of
Yeah, they can. All right,
Eminem
you keep on doing they can.
growing up
Should
in
they?
the rap culture where it's predominantly dark skin and there's like ghetto attitudes, but Eminem was like, I got a lot of poetry, I got a lot of orange door hinge like rhyming ability, and like he's probably one of the top 3 like MC rappers like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
And
colored people respect because
what No
he
Tech said, like, sorry, Oblate.
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah,
Like what No
like
Tech
you said,
should
I only had 2
they
minutes left.
practice a different culture?
And I think like there's all kinds of instances around the world where, you know, people are not of the same like racial identity, but they're in the same, you know, they're within the vicinity of the culture and then they're raised within it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, they're accepted it with open arms into that culture.
Exactly.
Like I can think of all kinds of examples. Damn, can I? Hold on.
Well, I'd argue, do you think
A million
Eminem
thieves.
is a white boy?
Wait a
Do you think
minute.
Eminem's a white boy that got blackwashed?
Hey, do you know what Eminem stands for? I only found this out the other day. Everyone's
Marshall
mum is
Mathers.
nice. No, everyone's mum is nice except mine. I didn't know he actually had a synonym for it, or whatever you call it,
Yeah, people,
abbreviation.
you keep going towards the we can do this. I'm saying we should do this, and you're saying yeah, but we can. But yeah, should you?
Well, there's
do you-
an is-ought fallacy to consider. Like, why should or ought somebody do something that you prefer
Yeah,
versus
why should we foster individual and distinct culture? I know we can, people. I get we can, but shouldn't we?
We do. Yes, we should.
Racist.
How is that racist?
by having more races around?
He's just
Having
itching to
more
call.
races around is
So
the
he
most
doesn't like
racist
being
thing to
called
do.
racist. He wants to see, I can do that too. I can call you racist.
And we're
Well,
at
like
the end of
listen,
the
I
day,
don't know,
we're talking about.
So
Omni,
you
are you
want
saying that we should or we
everyone?
shouldn't?
So you want everyone to drop when they move to America to drop their culture and just do everyone in America do things that Americans do, and forget
Yeah,
about the culture they have when they
like
came.
Omni's saying something about like some sort of racism. Like so Omni, like you should consistently say that I am white and I'm going to embrace my white culture and I'm proud that I'm white. Like and then you should push that on the other whites or not.
Who's saying that?
What?
I'm asking Omni, like should you foster the white culture?
I don't know. I don't even know what the white culture is in your opinion.
Whatever it is in your opinion, should you foster it and kind of get others who are in that culture and be distinct
No,
from
you
other
don't have to
cultures
push
that
it
are
on
not that?
anybody.
I don't
Who's
think
saying you have
No.
to push it on anybody?
I don't think these cultures that you're imagining really exist.
Yeah,
I think
the social
So now, yeah,
construct.
there's no cultures now, cultureless.
No, you're incorrect. Because even in the spectrum of darker skinned people, like you take the culture of a guy from Harlem versus a guy in New Orleans, the cultures are vastly different, even though the skin tones are similar.
Correct.
Yeah, so should you Omni foster the white culture?
I don't know what the white culture is.
What is the white culture?
Yeah.
What is the
Okay,
white
so
culture?
then all right, that's what so now so you do agree there's no culture to whiteness. There's no American culture, no white American culture.
No, I do not agree with that. I don't. There may be
All right,
one.
well then
I'm
you
not aware of
you
what.
should you shouldn't keep
there's-
asking
I
me
don't know
then.
what you think it is.
There's no
Doesn't
singular.
matter what it doesn't matter what I think it is. Whatever you think it is.
So you're like saying like white culture. Like what do you mean by white culture or black culture?
Yeah, it's up to Omni.
I don't think I think that there are stereotypes that you are confusing with culture.
Right.
And
Like what?
Because if you look at all different races, like look at Puerto Ricans for example, there are all shades of Puerto Ricans, all shades that speak Spanish.
All right, so like if I were to go,
So the white ones, are they supposed to practice white culture?
yeah, like if I were to go through and say like Omni, should we?
You guys are
should the Puerto
mixing. You
Ricans
guys are mixing.
embrace?
You're mixing race with culture, dude.
I get, yeah, but that's what he's doing though.
Yeah, should we like so? Like, if I were to go through the list, should we embrace should the Puerto Ricans embrace Puerto Rican culture? Should the Italians embrace Italian culture? Should the Asians embrace Asian culture? Should the Africans embrace African culture? Everybody seems to understand. And then when I say Omni, should the white Americans embrace and foster a white American culture? You get confused.
Yeah, but people. This is this happens all
Okay,
the
I
time.
get
People
what
mix race and ethnicity, dude.
Okay, I think
So
I get what you're saying. Yes, if you want to embrace white culture, sure, why not?
Not
But
what?
what is
Again,
white
this goes by
culture?
B-boy. You keep on saying we can, and if you want
Well,
to,
what is
should we?
what
The question is, should we?
what's wrong? Okay, what is that a bad thing? Are you talking? So does saying okay? What is white? What just define white culture? Like, what would a white culture do? Like, give me some shared
Whatever it
beliefs,
means to you.
values,
Well, dude,
practices,
you got
material objects that could characterize white culture. Can you
well,
answer that
be more
question?
specific though.
So
Yeah,
shared
Too
beliefs,
vague of a question.
values. Okay, white culture. What kind of shared beliefs do they have? Values, practices, material objects. What characterizes them?
Which white culture you're referencing, dude?
That the one
We
that
already
no thanks is asking
we
for.
already
No
established
thanks.
that there's many different white
Yes,
nations, white cultures. So which one of them, so that we could be
yes.
more
I'm asking
specific?
no thanks. Yeah, yeah. Ask no thanks that. What
I know
specific
I've been
one?
listening, dude, but it's getting
Yeah.
frustrating because you just like
Yeah,
we're not
and
getting
I would
anywhere.
say if you're going to adopt a black culture, which black culture should you adopt? The
Yeah,
Harlem
exactly.
one or the
Well,
New
it
Orleans
doesn't
one?
matter. That's logically relevant. That's what no takes is saying. Pick one, dude. Pick one.
I'm asking no
But you're
thanks to
acting
do
like it
that.
doesn't exist. You're acting like ethnicities don't exist when they
No,
do
we didn't
exist.
say.
And
No,
there's different races within different
you're.
ethnicities. So what, dude?
I don't know what.
But the point
I don't
is,
know what.
right? If you got the Creole New Orleans, New Orleans natives, right? That's a mix of French and patois or whatever it is, right? You got that culture. If they want to preserve their culture and their language, they should be able to do so, and not have
Yeah,
to
I agree.
mingle with the New Yorkers that might be the same skin color but have different ethnicities.
I agree. What are
I
we?
agree too.
I'm in agreement.
That's
So
right.
what's the
Like,
problem? And then
Well, I
why
don't
are we
know.
being called
He's
racist
saying
for
we
that?
should. No one's being called racist. I don't
Yeah, so they
understand.
should.
He's
They
saying white
should.
culture.
Yeah.
I've
So
been
they should
listening,
like.
dude.
Yeah.
yeah, and
So
what I think
in-group preference is not racist, correct?
I'm sorry.
In-group preference is not racist, correct?
No, no.
Okay, so
I don't think so.
the debate? What's the debate then?
I don't
Why
know.
are we arguing?
He's saying that white people should embrace white culture.
Right, and that you guys are saying that's racist.
I didn't say that. What are you talking about?
Well, I don't know who's arguing against no tense.
I got the
You're
perfect
trying to
counter.
argue with me. You're trying to argue with me because obviously we have different views. But I mean, we're in agreement.
I got the perfect
If Chinese, go ahead.
Lion,
Jesse, go ahead.
you're asking a wrong person. F is life is is not the whole brunt of this argument.
Yeah.
I'm not
So if I go into someone's house and in my culture, I don't like taking my shoes off every time I walk inside the house. Should I just say, "Oh fuck you, it's my culture. I'm leaving my shoes on"?
Oh nah, bro. You taking your shoes off when you come to my house.
Right. I'm gonna abide to the rules of the house I'm in. Right. That might be their culture. Like if I go to China, I'm definitely about to eat all the squid that I never would have eaten over here.
Right. But I think a fault in No Tanks' argument is that there's like one white culture, which I think is as logically bad as saying there's one black culture that all black
Right.
people should, and that's like ought to adopt. And I
Right.
think that's
He's not saying
fallacious.
that.
But the
I don't think he
instance
said
I'm
that.
bringing up is like if you're going into someone else's house, if you just want to practice your culture like where you are, I don't know. It becomes kind of nuanced there.
Honestly, that is kind of what I get from what No Tanks has been saying.
No,
It's
that's why I had to clarify.
How about we just let No Tanks
Yeah, the
speak for
the
himself
beginning
instead
of
of
it
Lion
was the
speaking
beginning
for
of
No
it was
Tanks,
that
yeah?
the beginning of it was that
Go ahead, no
that
thanks.
we that like somebody threw it out in like a nice way. They said that the distinctions in cultures is a beautiful thing that ought to be celebrated. So then I just kind of turned it into then we should foster for the segregation or preservation of distinct cultures. And then it became a no, that's racist.
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard, and I don't know why you're trying to, I don't know, deflect
Hey,
and act
am I
like
still
that's
here?
not the argument.
The hell, I can't read.
Maybe there's a misunderstanding where we're just debating the misunderstanding.
No tank said no one should mix. No ethnicities, no races should mix. That was the racist
Yes,
bit.
and if you have mixed children, you're diluting your culture.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Nothing I can do about it, guys. It's just what
But
it's just what it is.
your skin color isn't your culture, as exampled by people like Eminem or any like mixed race
We're not
couple
talking
who
about, dude.
we
This is the problem, dude. Oh my god, dude. Go ahead, dude. Finish.
you're
I'm sorry, dude. I
conflating
just getting
culture
impulse.
with skin color again, or like just because like I find a Japanese wife, we get married and have kids, and we live the next 40 to really weird excuse to like conflate culture with intermixed couples. You can have a culture any country. There's no
As for
one
both,
white culture. There's no one black
nah,
culture.
you're not being intellectually honest, bro. Like, I don't know if you're aware, but in America, there's a clear polar divide. It's very clear. I mean, we can act like it doesn't exist, but it exists, dude. Blacks have their culture, dude. Sorry to break it to you, right? And
Which one? The
now,
Harlem
Grant,
black culture
hold
or the
on,
New
dude. Hold
Orleans
on,
culture?
bro. Hold on, right? So there's nuances within black people in America. Granted, there's Ethiopian blacks, right? There's people from Sudan and Libya, right? That come from Africa. They have their own culture, right? Believe it or not, those black people don't typically get along with American blacks, dude. They have completely different cultures, even though they have the same skin color. Well, I understand that, but to then act like there isn't this stereotype or like black persona that even the black people they emulate because of hip hop, because of media, they emulate that type of archetype, dude, and it exists. And then there's white people that have a completely different archetype. And yes, there's crossovers, right? There's anomalies within the socio demographics of America. But to act like it doesn't exist, where you're being intellectually